What kind of help do you need? Right now, it is.
I do this work at 2 o'clock, 2 to 6:30.
Okay. Right.
I mean, good.
Thank you, bye.
I was thinking,
Okay, we're all set. Sorry, I just didn't want anybody to not be able to hear I was getting messages.
that's all I need is I can't talk about no decisions, no nothing. That's me. What's that?
This one, I don't want to talk about this.
We're making a decision tonight about it. We're making a decision. I thought we just.
No, look at the agenda, there's nothing on the agenda.
Okay, okay. Okay, well then I won't, I thought we were making a decision tonight. From the finance committee, remember we just came up. She's all set.
Okay, I'll just wait. You're talking about Sandra. Well, I thought, I was talking about. We'll just wait for Commissioner Barron and then we'll.
No.
Because you were talking.
No. No, it's annexation, that doesn't say that.
No, actually. That's exactly what it said.
The meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners will come back to order. We have our problem fixed now with the audio. Thank you for your patience on that. We are looking to talk to our Veteran Services Officer, if he's in the house. Dave? Okay. All right. A very good item. If he comes in, why, we'll just fit him in. If not, we may be asking you to give us a couple more items. Tomorrow at the service,
I have a lot.
okay. Tomorrow at the Service Center, not here, I'm sorry, at the Chamber of Commerce, I apologize, at 8:30 in the morning, we will interview our 4 candidates for the full-time administration's position. It starts at 8:30, and it goes until it's done. It is a public meeting. You are welcome to attend. 1 week from tonight, we have a special meeting selected with 2 items on that agenda. Number 1 would be the hire of our candidate, whoever will fill that position. And number 2 is a presentation. Mr. View, you put this together or got it in regarding solar?
It was supposed to be for this meeting, and somehow we were supposed to be so busy it couldn't be put on the agenda as I requested. I called the gentleman up, Charles Gould. He gave me a few other dates. I forwarded them dates to Ashley and Mr. Barron, and I'm not positive if the 9th was one of them dates, because
It was.
okay, well then I can contact him and he should be able to be here. It's just that I didn't think it was appropriate to mix this buzz about the, I'll call it annexation instead of altered property boundaries, along with solar, because they're 2 completely separate incidences that need to be addressed by some people in the community, and I was kind of leery on bringing them in right now.
Well, if you bring him in for a solar presentation, the issue of annexation won't begin until the application is received. I believe that's on the 16th.
Well, no, that's why I asked to be put it on here, because I have a lot to say about it tonight. Just in general discussion, and let the people know where I stand and what the community stands from what I've talked about.
Okay, but in regard to the solar, that's, if you want.
Yeah,
to do presentation.
that can be put on. I mean, there's two gentlemen. This guy is the first one that I would recommend people to see, because what he told me basically is, and I don't want to tie it into why some of the other stuff is happening, but a lot of people are giving me stuff that happened 3, 4, 5 years ago that I wasn't involved with solar.
Could I finish the?
Oh, okay,
letting them know
I
about the
thought you-
meetings, and then don't lose your spot.
Well, it's already lost. It is.
All right, I apologize. So tomorrow at the Chamber of Commerce at 8:30 in the morning, the interviews will take place. Tuesday, the 9th, 5:15 here. We will have a special meeting that will be a 2-item agenda. Again, it will be a solar presentation and the hiring of our new administrator. Additionally, tomorrow, so and this is what I wanted to discuss, we have a format going into it, in that we will have a pool of questions, and each candidate will be asked the same questions, with the exception of a period of time at the end of the interview, if there is a specific question that a commissioner would have that might have been specific to something that that candidate said during the interview. And so it will be the same process for all 4 people. And you are welcome to attend. We would ask tomorrow that you restrict yourself to not saying anything in that room, because it will be a job interview, even though it's a public meeting. Commissioners, are there questions regarding the actual interviews? Is the process clear for you?
Are you saying we cannot ask individual questions?
Oh, yes, you can,
At the end.
at the end.
Okay.
So there's a.
I mean, do we have a generic question pattern that everyone gets asked, and then we can hone it in on the applicants?
Hypothetically, there would be like a pool of 26 questions. We'd start with Commissioner Peterson, then we go to you. Mr. Peterson would ask, you would ask, Mr. Melner would ask, I'd ask. And so you just keep rotating those questions until that, and then you write your notes, obviously you do your scoring, until those questions have been exhausted. And then if you have specific questions, you're more than welcome to, at the end of the interview, ask what I would call disclosure, commissioner's disclosure, something that you might want to know about, or something that they touched on, you might want more information.
We don't have to submit them ahead of time.
No.
Thank you.
Sure. Gentlemen, is there any other questions regarding the interview process tomorrow?
Well, question, but an observation. We've received 2 sets of questions. I think we should settle on which ones we want to use. There's 2 different
I
sets.
think the bank of 26 questions, to me, looks more attractive than the one of 27. Not because it's one less question, just the way the questions are phrased.
Yeah, it's, I would agree. Just that I wanted to bring that before the other commissioners, rather than have 2 different sets. Do use just one of the 2 sets.
Yeah, I would think that would be less confusing.
Yeah, it'd be the one that's
We
titled.
could take 5 minutes and discuss which one when we see them. I know I got my packet at home, so I really didn't.
I sent it with the original packet.
Yeah.
A week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I sent the applications.
Could you have copies tomorrow, just in case
Yes, I
anybody,
will have
okay,
copies.
perfect,
Yes.
perfect.
I'll have a set of copies for each candidate, so like 20 copies. We'll each get one for each candidate.
So we'll decide tomorrow which bank of questions we want to, real briefly prior to the beginning.
Sounds good.
Okay, very good. Anybody else regarding this interview? Mr. View?
Yeah. Yes.
It's yours.
Well, thank you. I just want to let the public know that I've, my notification on the altered township boundaries, I'm going to call it that because I see this in here a lot. My first notice was, I think, April 14, 2023. Article in the paper. I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. And then there was multiple ones, and then there's one from the township that I represent that says urgent, and it does mention the distinguished Commissioner Barron on it. And since that time, I had multiple comments about it, and I have a lot of pressure on me to reveal what I feel about it. And after talking to leadership, both from Cornell Township, Escanaba Township, not the whole board, but individual board members that have convinced me that there was a lot of, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but some of the people that may have put the petition out has misrepresented lots of the issues that are on this petition. And I'd like to read, these are just a few of the comments I received today, and mind you, I've been getting these comments all the time, and I would like the whole commission to kind of talk about their feelings about it, because it has taken up a lot of my time, and it's very urgent for me, probably today, at the end of this discussion, I'll disclose on how I feel about it. But do I have permission, Chair, to read at least 10 little comments that were sent to me today? And I'm just paraphrasing them a little bit because they were kind of long and they had some nasty words in them, but.
Well, just delete those, but I mean.
No, I doctored them up so my grandkids can read them. Okay, it says, fully aware of the impact of the petition, I was never given that information. Misinformed, no information was given about the people being affected. They basically thought that it was just one or two property owners. Left out the facts that there would be other residents with them. There won't be any other residents with them. Very misleading. Remember, these are just taken right out of, this one here had, the main thing in there was so misleading, all capitalized. Came to my home with a petition to call for an election to allow registered voters in both townships to vote on this issue. So there were, and their families and friends thought the same thing. So they wanted to support the community, but they thought it would be an election. Never brought up that execution by the 5 members of the County Board of Commission would have the final say. Considered rejecting this land transfer. Many of my neighbors do not like it. Leaves a big tax burden on Escanaba Township. Please retract my signature as I was misinformed. This is just for the last 24 hours, and it's been like this. And I don't know if other commissioners had this type of voice from their constituents, but it's very concerning to me, and I'm hoping I can get some answers tonight, because I did ask administration if they could check into the legal role of our commission, even though it hasn't been officially put to the commission. I have seen no documents. People said that it's already been sent to the commission. I would like that clarity from the board or one of the commissioners. And I know they don't have to talk, so I don't, I'm just saying our
We've
scope.
received no application.
Okay, well, I mean, people are saying it's here, and I tell them, not to me. And I wanted to know the scope and the criteria on deciding this altercations. And so I started reading into the size of the townships, their master plans. Escanaba has one, Cornell doesn't. This annexation, right now, both townships, just for some information, is like 50 square miles, 50 point something, 3.2 or 50.7, they're almost equal. And if I read this paper right, it's 30 square miles of annexation, so one township's gonna go up to 80 square miles, and then the other one's gonna drop down to 20. I don't know, there's all kinds of worries on fire protection, tax revenue. The schools, I think we kind of settled that, and I'm not sure on that, but, school of choice kind of protects the people that way. The other thing that was a main concern that I asked, and I don't know if our legal counsel received that information, Ashley would have to, remember them questions I gave you, Ashley? This one here was the conflict of interest procedure, because one of the commissioners has something to gain, and I don't know exactly what the legal procedure would be for if we have to vote that he can participate, or if he has the right to participate, or the right to recuse himself. I think that's pretty important, because a lot of the communications I'm receiving, there's concerns about that. And another one that we've talked about, and when I say we, it's the people in the community, not the commission, I'm not going behind anyone's back. Can we legally find a way, if this does come to the commission, where we can pass this back to the townships and let the people vote? And I'm not saying I'm against annexation or nothing, I just think the community's against it, and as long as this type of pressure is put on me as their representatives, I can tell you right now, I would not support this whatsoever at this, and it's not even an issue with us now, but it's like, I haven't even heard one person in favor of it that called me personally, outside of just maybe one conversation on the street. And I believe in property rights and everything else, but we can't deny what these communities and these leaders have done over the last 10, 12 years, and especially in the last 5 years when I was reading the master plan. There was a lot of changes in Escanaba Township. And that master plan and these township board meetings did what the people in the majority of the people wanted in the community. And that's what I looked at right now. And I know some of you commissioners were here when I was just reading little headlines in the paper, the controversy, but I was never privy to any of that. But I am now, and my actual feeling is this is not gonna fly with me. And I just wanted to say that, and I hope the rest of the commissioners, if they've had some insight from the people, would enlighten me to where they feel on it, and especially for Commissioner Barron, if he so pleases, he can kind of tell me his feelings on it. Not that he has to, but it's quite of a big buzz in the community right now, and I think I'd like to get it somewhat on the way it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. View. Any other commissioners, Mr. Peterson?
I guess I'd like to address it. I have been doing some research, not nearly what I need to do. I'm not prepared to say either way, but I have a lot of information, a lot of people to talk. Not ready to do anything one way or the other at this time, but just know that I have started researching it, and I will continue to research, and I'm going to do is best for the community. I'm not in Escanaba Township. I'm not their commissioner. I feel it. I'm not comfortable with it coming to this board, but by law, everything we've found so far, it rests squarely on our shoulders. So just know that, like I said, I'm studying it. Once we get the application, I'll study it even more, but I have started. One of the things that I heard from people was that it was going to affect the kids going to school, that the ones that changed townships would not be going to Gladstone anymore. I did find out that school district lines do not follow township lines. So those children will still continue to go to Gladstone School. Those children and the money that follows those children will still go to Gladstone School also. But away from making any decision.
Mr. Melman?
I too received numerous calls, and just like Commissioner View said, just about the same complaint, that they were not told all the correct information. And we kind of went through this about a year ago, and I really believe there is a huge conflict of interest and personal gain for a commissioner. And I would strongly be against it.
Commissioner Barron, anything?
Oh, yes. I'll start with Commissioner View. Commissioner Muller too, these, what you've relayed there, those things that you read there, those are, when that was, as far as I know, in the presentations, I wasn't there presenting those to the circulator of the application, but a map of what was proposed to be, as you, I think you have a copy of it in front of you there, a couple of them actually, with your paper, that was presented in front of each one of them. There was language that was on top of there, which is in that article that you have, or that publication, that was there for each individual to read. There was a lengthy explanation by the presenter, as far as my understanding is, to explain what was taking place. And you're hearing from a number of people on this, and the reality is that these people, when it was presented, and they were not forced to sign it. They were, as they just said, it was stopped at their homes, was in their own backyard. It was not a pressurized situation. They were asked, and it was explained, and they did sign it. Okay, in essence, when you sign something like this, you're basically voting for it, in all reality. And so they had no issue with that. But as what's taking place now, as it's being presented, now it's being presented, and according to the legal aspect of it, according to the statute, which is an 1851 statute, and it's part of the county commissioner, or see, how does it go? It's the County Board of Commissioners Act. It was put in there in 1851, was amended in, I believe, 1963 with the Constitutional Convention in the state, and that change was, it changed it from the County Board of Supervisors to the County Board of Commissioners. This allows citizenry in townships, and I think it was very ingenious that this was put in there 172 years ago, anticipating that there would be citizens in a township that would have potentially their property rights restricted substantially and almost outright taken away, and it gave what option do they have if the township can do these type things? Well, this gave that option to them to do that. And you've stated that the Escanaba Township has done some changes on its zoning, but it's still a disaster. And it continues to be that way, and the latest is down by the West Gladstone Bridge, which you're familiar with on the Painted Nolan Road. They changed the zone, instead of enforcing their zoning, which is in a court action was to force them to enforce their zoning, they instead changed it so they could stop the court action. Well, in so doing, they've put a whole lot of properties that are, according to the zoning, are non-conforming, non-compliant. You have 26 or whatever, it's a huge amount. They worked fine until they changed the zoning without it wasn't requested by the citizens, the residents. It was something that the planning commission did and the township board adopted so that they would not get a negative ruling in our local court about enforcing their zoning. And they've done just the opposite of that, where they would enforce in zoning on different parties and not on some, and not enforce the zoning on some, but then others turn a blind eye. So that still continues to this day. And so, as with any situation when it comes to property rights, there was no way that the property owners that were there that got tired of this and said, what option do we have? Had no idea that there was some statute that had been sitting there for 172 years that actually allows the property owners to say, we've had enough of this governance. And it's very basic, right to, if you have a copy of the Declaration of Independence, read the first two paragraphs. It is right along the same very line that our founding fathers, when they declared the Declaration of Independence, did so after actions by the governing body that they had. And this is on the same vein as that, and it allows these property owners to be able to get their property rights back and to be able to utilize their properties in a legal fashion as they see fit. And that's what the question here is. This is 150% property rights. This is not any particular thing. The solar aspect that's been bandied about, what that did is, it showed a lot of landowners just how much property rights they had been lost over the years. And the Escanaba Township has, with its actions just in the last 16 months, made it very clear that this section of the township, as you see, which is about 50% of the township, and Escanaba Township and Cornell are approximately 60 square miles. If you do the total acreage division, it's about 60 square miles in each one. So that their actions were, there was a number of landowners, of which I was one, who had contracts potentially for, had leased our property potentially for a solar development. And in so doing, we were going through all the steps. It's been years. This started in April of 17. And the township did, using the township dollars, taxpayers' dollars, did everything to stop that until the point that the developer canceled their contracts in late January of last year. Well, there was contacts put out to see if we're supposedly the number one area in the state of Michigan is here for sun for solar, then maybe somebody else is interested. Well, it turned out there was a developer, actually a user of the electricity, that did. And the actions of the township continued. Their actions were to stop the developer there. They hired a law firm specifically for that. Foster Swift was to stop the annexation, was to stop solar at any cost to the taxpayers. And that's exactly what they're doing. So they're taking the money from the very landowners that had, that put into their coffers to stop those landowners from utilizing their property in a legal fashion. That's basically taking away their property rights. And that's fundamental in our Bill of, our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, which each one of us has sworn an oath of office to. And so this continues. But in November of last year, they did finally pass a solar amendment to their zoning ordinance, which basically the area that potentially could be potentially could be solar, which is this map that was handed out tonight here, and that you have, Commissioner View, the wipes that out from even being a possibility to be in any kind of solar situation. It's a double hit as far as through that action of taking away their property rights for a very legal entity, and so that's what's transpired. But they did it. They did it knowing full well that this application for annexation had been. They knew about it as of December of 2020. So I'm giving you background information. They were given a copy of the statute and what could potentially be done with it. And their response in their December 14th meeting of 2020 was, we've got a lawyer up to stop them from leaving. We got to stop solar. And so you're indicating here that you're against it because of these few people. It's the same intimidation that they've been using for years on landowners in the township.
Guys, I will have it quiet in this room, please. I'm respectfully asking you that. Thank you.
It's the same intimidation now that's going out to these others, and they're claiming that they didn't know. It was well explained to them. I know the individual that collected most of these signatures is a very honest man, and this is not a fair to him whatsoever. And by the fact that they signed this, and so many people did sign this, that it is an action from the people. I know you've talked repeatedly, Commissioner View, about wanting to know what the people want to do. You've got a few comments. You got close to 500 signatures from Escanaba Township. There's I think 100 or so from Cornell Township. They actually spoke. That is pretty solid evidence, and these are 100%. Not only are they, because the application for annexation is very specific. It can't be just a registered voter in the township. It has to be what they call a freeholder. It has to be an individual that this is their they are a property owner. This is where their residency is, where they can vote, but also that, the evidence of them being a property owner, they have to have their name on that property, on that deed. You can have a situation where you have a couple, a husband and wife, and they own a property. Jointly in the state of Michigan, they're recognized as the owners. But if one of the spouses did not have their name on the deed, they could not sign this petition, or not this petition, but this application. So it's very specific, and it's really was well done in how they put this legislation together. It's basically what I would call a cookbook recipe legislation, which it's rare if any of us have ever seen it in our modern times. But it's the way it should be done. And so those steps have been followed as closely as possibly can be followed to this point, and will continue to be. But the Escanaba Township knew full well what the potential was for solar. They have an ad hoc committee report which states specifically what's in there. Escanaba Township was not crying poverty, was saying, we'll shut those down. We're going to determine how that property is going to be used by a group of people who don't own the property. And I've said this, and I'll continue to say this, that the people who know best how to use their property are the ones who own it. Not a little board that comes up, and we've come up with the rules, we don't like the way you're using your property. An infamous statement that's been made to myself was that I like things just the way they are. Translation: my property is exactly the way I want it, and your property is exactly the way I want it. That's what this whole application for annexation is the heart of, is that was taken away from them. And what's the recourse for it? 1851 piece of legislation knew that something like this, the founders and the brilliance that was set forth, knowing that people have a natural tendency to want to take things from other people. And they can do it in a number of ways. You can actually go up and steal it from them, but this is legalized theft in through the regulatory process, utilizing zoning and shutting down things. And they've passed it in Escanaba Township, they placed for solar, and this is happening across the state. There's a law firm they're doing now, they're specializing in that type of procedure, where it's not viable, it's not, it's potentially can't even fit the economics of scale. It's just not a good spot, but it's where they picked it, it's an overlay district, and they shut it down. Very similar thing came before this County Board of Commissioners last year, depending for solar amendment to the zoning ordinance. It was very similar to what Escanaba Township passed, but it was taken down here and stripped of these things, because if that ordinance as brought before the County Board of Commissioners last year was passed, there would be no solar in Delta County whatsoever. But now we have in Baldwin and Maple Ridge Township on the St. Nicholas Road area, St. Nicholas area, development that is proceeding at a very good pace. And we already have solar that's in the Garden Peninsula, and also the wind farm. But the one that was passed by Escanaba Township was so, it took what we had presented before us and basically put it on steroids. It made it that anti. It's when you read it, it's the counties came before us, where if you put it around your house, on your house, what have you, in your yard, there was basically no restrictions. Then if you got a little bit bigger than your house, well, the major restriction was you couldn't put it on the grid. But you could, if you had it on your house, you could use the grid as your backup. But you couldn't.
I read that.
Yeah, but then for solar farms, which was just 10 acres or more, basically, it just killed it. Though that's not the case in Delta County. And if that's our, and we, as far as solar industry is concerned, we've been friendly in this county for it, as far as the county board is, in the Garden Peninsula, in the township of Garden, for the wind farms and for the solar that's there. And we've also been very friendly to solar industry in this county. And I think what's missed by so many people here is that in Delta County is that our biggest industry in Delta County is the solar industry. It's Billerud plant. Billerud cannot survive without solar. energy. It has to, solar energy, without solar, they utilize wood to make their products. Wood is solar energy in solid form. Yet that was fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Folks, please.
Well, hopefully.
Folks, I'm going to ask you one more time, and then I'm going to ask a deputy to step in if you won't listen to me, okay? Please, I'm saying please.
Okay, well, anyway, that is no different. See, we don't look at it as that. I'm a farmer by trade. Okay, we have forestry on our farm. That is a crop. That is captured solar energy. It's in the form of wood, but that's basically solar energy in solid form. But we also we raise forages. We have cattle who harvest those forages. Those forages are captured solar energy, and that energy we harvest that. So from an agricultural standpoint, that's why they're called solar farms. As far as the generation of electricity is concerned, solar farms, and that is taking the energy from the sun and turning it into a product that is saleable to generate revenue. It can be forages, it can be grains, it can be vegetables, it can be trees, all this. And this is all solar energy. And so, yet we have an industry here, this is what it has to harvest this crop in order to be able to make the products it sells. It's a solar industry. And the tentacles off of it throughout our community are huge. And potentially here, they're looking at anywhere from a $1 to a $2 billion investment here. That's for a solar industry. Yet, if we put solar panels out in the field, the world ended. And yet, the solar installation is is an example here. This board in late last year, I think it was December, the Escanaba Township Board, the Wells Township Board, all voted for tax abatement, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $29 million if this mill does expansion. $29 million over the period of 20 years or so. My numbers may be a little bit off, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. They voted for that. But yet another solar industry is to do everything that they possibly can, spend tens of thousands of dollars just on their ad hoc committee alone. Their legal cost was somewhere in between $70,000 and $80,000. And just to put that together, just to stop that industry, yet they gave tax abatement. And yet, as an example with the solar industry, it absolutely cost the taxpayers nothing. It's basically from a standpoint of a governmental entity, as far as our property taxes, what have you, this is a tax harvest industry. It doesn't require upkeep of roads or whatever from the county. It doesn't ask any of that stuff. But yet that one is to be denied. It's very hypocritical what's taking place here. And you're being influenced by the same intimidation that's been taking place by township upon the landowners for decades. We don't take lightly having to move. This is, my family alone has been a part of that since the 1850s, before it was even a township. And by the way, they were loggers. They came in and harvested solar energy. That's how they got rolling. So that's what I was coming forth with, and what your decision making is there. And the application allows it gives the landowners an option to leave where they're better suited for their resources. Is there a benefit to the landowners? I think there's a benefit to any landowner if they can use their property legally as they see fit. And this Commissioner Mahler's been prone to say that there's a conflict of interest. Well, then you can put forth the conflict of interest if you can say, well, I have no use for my property rights, therefore you can take them from me. So therefore, then I would have a conflict of interest then.
Your points are well taken with me, because I support a lot of what you said. The thing is, I think the battle is being fought the wrong way, by annexation, if we want to call it that, or dividing the property. I think the way solar has advanced, and I didn't want to get this mixed into the annexation and solar, even though that's the crux of a lot of what's happening with the property rights. That's why I was trying to get these guys down here to talk, because I thought it would be better if we can compromise in a way with with leadership out of Escanaba Township, Cornell Township, and work together. It maybe take a little longer, but it's better than stripping the property rights of everybody for a few that need this type of business to be ran. And I understand 100% of what you're saying, that it can be the new farming in the community, and the state is pushing it besides. The federal government is pushing it. And by the year 2050, from my estimations, that's when Governor Whitmer says no more fossil fuels. Where's it coming from? This is the start of it. If we don't expand that way, and I'm talking solar now, we're going to be left behind. So I think there should be a compromise, because a lot of these people, I don't want to mention their names, but they're in their 70s, 76. One lady told me, I've been here, and it's not just a few. If you think I'm listening to a few, I think there's less, the few is the people that wanted annexed, in my opinion. Please get a hold of me to give me your opinion either way, but mostly I need a lot of people that want this annexation. My mind can be changed. I'm just saying, as of today, with all the stuff that's happening and all the other opportunities we have, I can't help it what leadership does in other townships, Bob. When they turned all this down, I think they might have turned a blind eye to some good stuff and didn't have 100% of the information, or the information has changed so much, maybe we can convince them to redress the issue. I just think annexation is the wrong way at this point.
Commissioner?
One of your comments was that I think you're implying that we're stripping property rights by annexation? Would that be proper?
No, it's a double-edged sword. Some people are losing their property rights to stay in Escanaba Township. Other people are gaining property rights to do what they want with the property that, in the annexation, because of no regulations. You have to, in order to have a civilization or a community, you got to have a little bit of regulations and ordinances. And I was reading Escanaba Townships. It's quite restrictive to live in Escanaba Township. I personally, myself, I'm not against what they put up in the last 3, 4, 5 years, because that's probably in their master plan. That's probably what the people in the community get involved in, is that master plan, and they try to follow it. But there's a lot of things in Escanaba Township that I said, I wouldn't be able to live here,
Well,
because I'd lose too many freedoms, like you're saying.
okay, but see, the annexation is not stripping any of the area that's of their property rights. And the
Their
people that are
leadership,
leaving.
though, but their leadership, I mean, the leadership, the boundaries, the people that
Okay,
represent.
the leadership has been taking their property rights.
No, but we're taking that, if you look at it logistically there's a lot more than just the annexation that you have to look at. And that's all I'm saying.
But the property rights are the heart of it, and this is just the opposite. This is not stripping of anyone's property rights. The property rights have been stripped from these landowners, and the area that would be up for, that's going to eventually be brought forth, the application for annexation is an area that is basically the rural part, the bulk of the rural part of Escanaba Township. Haven't got an accurate figure on how many people live there. Guesstimate is anywhere from 400 to 600 out of 3,506 people in the entire township. It is, they've been stripped of their property rights by moving,
ordinances?
they've been stripped in Escanaba Township. You just.
By the ordinances.
By the ordinances and how they've been implemented in the township. As I said earlier, they will be implemented upon certain individuals.
Yeah,
And
I-
other ones, they will not, and as
I know,
said, that a court case that is still, they're still being worked on here, they would change it so that they didn't have to implement their restrictive ordinances on those particular property rights.
well, not that I'd be in favor of it, but can't this battle be fought during the revisiting them ordinance or not? In the community, if the people want it, can it be redone? I mean, can it?
No, it's.
I mean, will it? I don't know, but
No,
can it
it's-
legally
You
start
can-
going there and start
You
changing?
can do a lot of different things, but the reality is, they have made it clear that it's going to be.
Who made it clear?
The township officials, board has made it clear.
But they were voted in by the people.
They were voted in by the people, but they've made it clear that the big rural part of the township was to be set aside, not for the agricultural aspect of it, but it's to be set aside for housing. And that's the issue here. They don't care about the farms. They've made that pretty clear. But they want that property available so they can expand the housing. Fine and dandy, but those people that own that property would like to use the property the way they like to use it. And you talk about people getting a hold of you in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. A whole lot of these people that own this property that are in this area are in that age group. And
I know.
they want their farmland and their property to be usable. They don't want it restricted to the point that the township basically wants us to be so restricted that we have to sell our property in order to take care of it, because we can't earn the income we need to pay the taxes the confiscatory taxes that are presented with us, summer taxes twice a year, summer taxes and winter taxes. And if we don't pay those, then we can end up in the county land bank, and they have no problem doing that whatsoever.
No, but my other, just to end this for my satisfaction, is if you represent how many people, when you speak, who are you speaking for?
I'm speaking for the property owners of Delta County.
Okay, and, no, but as a commissioner, who do you speak for? How many people? About 7,000 something, we split up
Well,
equally?
the districts are.
Okay, but-
I have the biggest district with 7,600 and change.
Well, I'm glad you have it. But here's the thing that I'm seeing. I'm having township officials that were voted in, planning commission people, trustees, not all of them, because some are in favor of it, but the majority of these boards who represent, I don't know how many people, but they must represent their community equally like we do on the commission, and I feel they are speaking for the majority of the community. You're right, I'm not intimidated, as you so say. I am being influenced by the elected officials and then the individuals also. And I will share with you every email I have, and it's taken up most of my life the last couple of weeks, is all I'm saying. So I thought I should make a stance today, as of today. I'm not against solar, I'm against annexation. I figure there's a better way to do it, and I just want to make that clear to everybody. I'm not against solar.
Well, if there was a better way to do it, the elected officials in Escanaba Township made it clear that they were going to restrict the property rights in the rural area. And they, like I said, just in the last 16 months, they've made that very clear that they're going to do that, and they're going to continue down that road. Well, that's not representative of that area. And that area has an option here with the annexation, and the problem with that you have is that you're against the annexation, but you don't have an alternative. You want to say compromise with them. The compromise is, there's no compromising there when they hold all the cards. This one allows them, this allows these property owners to be able to better utilize their property. And there's more support for that than you realize. Unfortunately, you're getting it from like I said earlier, you're getting the same intimidation process that the townships used on the large landowners and the smaller landowners for years. And it just had and you're very
maybe.
familiar with the latest example at the West Gladstone Bridge. Thank you.
Okay, being silent on this, I'm going to weigh in for 3 minutes or so, but does anybody have any final comments before we end the workshop?
Depends on what you say.
Sir, this is not, thank you. So does anybody else?
I thought the public could chime in if they
No,
had.
no, no.
They
This is
cannot?
an informational workshop for the commissioners. This is not a public hearing.
Well, no, it's not a public hearing, but it was.
So, the thing that I wished to speak to this about, it's been said in the paper that I've conspired and colluded, and I haven't made my mind up on this. The more questions I ask, the information comes in, the more questions I have, okay? Fiduciary obligation is to protect the entity. That's my fiduciary obligation, to protect Delta County from lawsuits that I think will be in the future, from activities that I think now, okay? Just because Bob Barron is my friend, those of you calling me corrupt, if you have charges, bring them forward. If not, quit wasting your breath, because we have made no decisions. And those, you don't know us as individuals. We disagree all the time. And I see another one coming here, okay? We have not received the application. We haven't brought this before the board. This is the first board discussion of this tonight. And the property rights of all people are what I'm concerned about, not just people who might want to move to Cornell Township. If a guy doesn't want to do that and he's dragged along, his property rights are being violated. I'm trying to figure out what's best for the county, and that's where my vote's going to go. It's what's best for the county. Thank you for your patience with this, but we have yet really to get into this issue. And so you're going to see the application come before us on the 16th, and that's when it starts. I would encourage you, if you want to call me, you can call me, email me. I just talked to a gentleman before. I'll buy the coffee. I want to hear what you have to say. My mind in no way is made up, and it certainly is not based on friendship. He wouldn't expect that of me, and I wouldn't offer it. So this will conclude the Commissioners' Informational Workshop for today. It is never a point where we invite the public in to talk on this. It is amongst the commissioners. We don't vote on this. If we bring somebody to the podium, it is specific to the subject that we want to talk about. Okay, the approval of the previous minutes of the county board session of 4/18/23. I would need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Melnar. Additional discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That would pass. Tonight, I would need obviously every night too, we need to approve our agenda.
I move the approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron, second by Commissioner View. Additional discussion on this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that moves. We have a set agenda. Presentation of written communications, communications received, communications forwarded. I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron. Supported by Commissioner Melnar. I do have discussion on this, and I wanted to reach out and let the public know. I have, myself, Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Peterson, have been receiving your emails. There's approximately 10 to 15 people who are sending us a form email. Shirley Golock has sent 22. Teresa Ross has sent 9. Paula Hughes Johnson, 17. The specifics of the email are saying you're unfit to hold office, please resign or we'll recall you. My answer to you is no, I'm not resigning. If you want to recall me, hit me with your best shot, the public will speak. Commissioner Peterson, you got anything to say?
Basically the same thing. I was told to either do the honorable thing and step down, or dishonorably be voted out. And my thoughts on quitting are that's dishonorable in itself. So I will stay on the board until I'm removed.
Commissioner Barron.
Well, I concur with my two fellow commissioners on that. And these are daily emails that come into us, and I don't know why it has to be every day. It's
Over 80 of them so far by that small group.
Yeah, I mean, they tell me that when you're getting this much on the same thing, they're a form email. Creativity is pretty low on those things, but, they say in this world that this could be considered cyberbullying, and I'd never experienced that before. But, that, if the shoe fits, wear it. So, anyway, that's, I have no intention of resigning. We have much more to do, and we want to do the best we can for the people and protect their rights all the way through. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of putting these on file signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. All right, very good. Reports of standing statutory special committees and others. You have anything?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Oh, what do we have?
Committees.
Dispatch, airport
Okay.
advisory.
I would need a motion to place them on file.
Motion moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Barron,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that would pass. Christine Williams, you are the only one signed up for public comment. Please, my podium's yours. There it is. I only have one, I'm sorry.
She removed her. Oh.
Ford River Township. At the previous meeting, I had asked this board a specific question that regarding the additional $478,614.09 that the Conservation District took from the county between the years 2011 to 2022. This in their financials was identified as administration. That administration fee had started out at $3,500 and had reached the highest level at $75,000. This fee is in addition to the $900,000 that the county allocated to the Conservation District for parks and other services. So the specific question that I asked you was, what was that administration fee used for? And was it used for actual administration or something else? And I look forward to hearing the answer to that question. I also shared my concerns regarding contracts between the county and the Conservation District. And I believe at this point it is of utmost importance that this board seek legal review on and advice on any contract or agreement that is presented to you by the Conservation District. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, very good. Any additional comment on agenda items? Going once?
I don't see a timer up there.
You don't need
3
one.
minutes?
You don't need one. I guess, no. Go
Okay.
ahead, please.
Kay Rollins, Wells Township. This is in regards to the solar farms. Now, you keep saying it's agricultural, solar farms. It is not agricultural. Farms are agricultural. Solar farms are not agricultural. They're either going to be assessed as industrial or commercial. If you put your land in solar farms, your ag exemption will come off of your property, and you will be charged the 18 extra mills, so your taxes are going to go up substantially. I wanted you to be aware of that. Also, other millages will possibly change too, like school districts. You'll be moving school districts. One township might have data and the other township doesn't, so you're going to have to worry about that also. I worked for the county for equalization for 23 years. I did the tax bills for the county, all 30-some thousand of them. And in those 23 years, not once was a line moved, okay? We never had boundaries moved from this township to another township. Now, you may have had it prior to 1988, or you may have had it within the last 10 years. I've been retired, so I don't know, I haven't heard of it. But there's a lot of stuff going on here. If you move these lines, there are going to be a lot of repercussions that I don't think the landowners or even the board here might be aware of, okay? I plan on doing some research on this, getting the millage rates and figure it all out, and we'll see how happy these people that really want to move into Cornell Township really are once they if they do end up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. Anybody else, please? Mr. Kaplan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, David. Joe Kaplan, Ford River Township. This is a message that someone forwarded to me for my opinion. It's from Delta County Just the Facts, a Facebook page of which I am banned. I was reinstated for a moment and then banned again. And it's a statement by Bob Peterson, and I say this with respect, please. And it's in response to Kathy Tunson Scott, who also has me banned. The law says this is in our laps. This is Bob, and this is about annexation. The law says this is in our laps. I'm not saying that we want it, quite to the contrary. I believe that wholeheartedly, Bob. We don't want it. It's actually a matter that the township should have tried to work with Mr. Barron on. Personal property rights is a constitutionally guaranteed right that the people feel have been infringed on by the township. I am not saying I will vote for or against it. I have a lot of questions I need answered. I want to focus on personal property rights as a constitutionally guaranteed right that the people feel have been infringed upon by the township. If that's true, then it shouldn't be the board of 5 that make that decision. Mr. Barron should go to the courts and sue the township over a constitutional issue regarding his private property rights, attacking their zoning. If it's true that the township has overreached and taken away your private property rights, then it's the judiciary that makes that decision, not the legislative branch.
Joel, which item are you referring to? Sorry.
The annexation.
That's not on the agenda, is it? I'm not going to stop you now, but you're on a roll.
It was earlier, so if it's added,
Oh, it's on top.
do you want me to stop or should I just keep going?
Finish it out.
I had to listen to a lot of this. If you have an issue with constitutionality, the framers of our Constitution separated the powers, judicial, legislative, and executive. And I can tell you, the last speaker spoke, I believe under PA 116, that the Governor Whitmer has allowed commercial farmland under PA 116 to be able to go ahead and put industrial scale solar. But as far as constitutionality, I think that's the job of the judiciary, the courts, not some obscure law from 1851, 4 years before our state was a state. 1855. We were 1855.
Thank you.
Is that when we became a state? I stand corrected. Hey, we all make mistakes, don't we?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
It was Michigan State University that was established in 1855.
Welcome, Dave.
Thanks. I'm Dave Adamidi, Wells Township. And I know what we talked about today, we talked about it before, talked to the commissioners. I heard Commissioner Barron refer to the Constitution, make some, I'm just going to say it honestly, he's blowing some serious smoke. I've been a police officer for 20 years. I know how to read people. My comment is this. Again, we shouldn't be talking about this. If this comes down to a vote and it comes before this commission, there should be 4 commissioners voting. This shouldn't be an issue. I'm waiting for Mr. Barron to come up here and recuse himself and do the honorable thing. And I haven't seen that. And it goes to his character, and he could put a lot of this to rest if he would simply stand up and say, I will not vote on this issue because I stand to directly benefit from it. If it were me and I wanted to have solar property, I would simply buy some property and exercise my rights that way. And you talked a lot about people's rights being taken away. Well, maybe I don't want a solar farm next to me. And that's my right as well. So you can't ignore all the people's rights and just go with one group. So I'd like to see Commissioner Barron do the honorable thing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Guys, what took place on the Commissioners' Informational Workshop is not agenda items, so I'm not going to get, I let 2 of them come up now, so if anybody else, go ahead. Welcome.
long way around for an old guy. Bob Van Dam, Baldwin Township. The lady was talking about the solar, I totally agree with her. But what she doesn't realize, Baldwin Township is so happy because we're gonna probably have 1,000 acres that's uncapped. Who does that help? The township board, the county board, the schools, and everything else. And if you're not smart enough with your own property to get it in your contract that the solar company is gonna pay for the increase in taxes, that's your issue. The young man who was up here, I totally agree, property rights, he doesn't wanna have solar panels next to his property, then buy property somewhere else. Because I've been paying taxes for 50 years, and I'll do with my property
Folks,
what
I
I
will,
like.
hold up. I will recess this meeting, and I will have a deputy come in and talk to you if you cannot control yourself. That's your last warning.
And then one other thing I had told the county board 6 months ago, the Delta County Rescue Task Force is up and running. It's a conglomerate of EMS, fire departments, law enforcement, the hospital, doctors and nurses. We respond to any mass casualty situations. It was kind of put in effect for the school shootings and that, hoping we never have that. But we go to a lot of other things too. So that's up and running, and I want to thank the county board for their support on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, general public, excuse me, you got me wound up. Public comment on agenda items going once. And for those of you who've come up and shared, thank you. Going twice, gone. All right, very good. We have committee reports. We'll start with Ashley's administrator report.
Myself, along with Brad Manila, the Mayor Pro Tem of Gladstone, and Mark Amel, Mayor of Escanaba, was invited to participate in Delta Force's Governance Day, which was filled with the opportunity to meet and interact with leaders at several levels of local and state government. Participants learned about the various levels of responsibility and services, as well as the challenges that each face as they try to serve the public. They will also become more aware of the vast number of opportunities that are open to serve in leadership positions in local governments, and I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting on that. I was also a part of the Hannahville Task Force, along with Commissioner Peterson. There, Amy Berglund presented that the Invest UP had decided to earmark the allocation of $15 million for the Upper Peninsula Economic Development to pertain exclusively to housing development. The $15 million was allocated from the 2022 and 2023 Michigan budget that was passed back in July. The Invest UP's goals for the housing development are to focus on developments that are shovel-ready, an equitable geographic distribution of investment, appeal to the growing regional population, prioritize developments that can demonstrate a relationship to job growth or retention, ensure some return on investment, prioritize developments willing to constrain ownership with the principal residence exemption, and prioritize projects where a local community is willing to invest in a development. Invest UP has not set a date on when applications will be a process for this, accepted for this. Also, just an update on the application to alter township boundaries between Escanaba Township and Cornell Township. I have began making a folder to help commissioners stay up to date with information that I am provided. So far, I have uploaded the list of taxpayers for Cornell and Escanaba Township. I have not calculated the total revenue that would be affected by this application. I have, however, spoke with Doug Leisenring from the ISD, who assured me that the tax revenue that is currently being sent to the school districts will not be affected by this application. Thank you.
I would need a motion to place that on file.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion? None being seen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That would be put on file then. Very good. Personnel Committee minutes of today. You have any report from the Personnel Committee, Mr. Chairman?
We had the chief deputy clerk asked for a reclassification from 12 to 13. With that, she had Do you have it in here?
So the
I-
chief, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
There was a request that was made from the chief deputy county clerk for a realignment of her job duties. And according to, the MCL, what was it, 780.621G, it's the clean slate, and this added additional duties for her. So that was only one topic item, and it was approved by the Personnel Committee. It is not, however, on this agenda due to the agenda was already released on Friday, and we did not want to make a change so late, because the meeting was today at 10 o'clock,
So that'll go on,
on May 16th.
yes.
All right, I need a motion to place this on file.
So move.
Moved by
Support.
Commissioner View, supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. Department head updates. We can get updates from any department heads wishing to. And welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know. Nope, it's not.
At the last meeting, I believe it was, Christine Williams got up and gave a talk for 3 minutes, and then I believe after the meeting was over, handed the board two different papers, 2 sheets of paper, I should say, on what she termed as basically the Conservation District has walked away from the parks with a sweetheart deal for $1,376,614. So my board has requested me to set the record straight, and that's what I'm going to do. And I know the meeting before that, I believe, is when Kelly got up during her 3 minutes and said, why does the Conservation District get more than 3 minutes? It's pretty hard to justify something like that with you within 3 minutes. Because we look at it, basically, it sounds like we took something that we shouldn't have. So as you can see, I brought you back to 2006. Before we even took over the parks. Because there's a few things that need to be clarified in the way she went through, and she FOIA'd us for our financials, which is no problem at all. But you can't go through those financials not having any background, not being around when these agreements were made, and especially the first 4 years where it was a handshake, and then come in and take line items and just add them together, and some of them would be duplicated, and come up with a figure and hand it to this commission. So we're going to start with, in 2006, the Conservation District received $2,500 from the county to do nothing more than be the Conservation District. Before 2006. In 2006, the county of Delta County and the city of Escanaba came together, each with $7,500, and basically asked the Conservation District to see why Home Depot did not end up in Delta County. So we went out to right where Menards is now, and I believe the DEQ at that time either called it 11 or 13 acres that were wetlands and would have to mitigate. That's the reason Home Depot never made it to Delta County. So we went in, and we ended up with under 3 acres. I think it was 2.83 or something like that. So then, that's a lot less mitigation, a lot less cost. So then basically, Escanaba tried to get Home Depot to come back. They were done, but Menards came in. So we were responsible for bringing Menards back to this community by going out there and identifying and having the DEQ come out and basically see that there was a mistake, because before, it was all buckthorn. So what we asked the city of Escanaba to do was bring an American Ranger out there and knock all the brush right to the ground, which they were allowed to do, even if it was in a wetland, and level it. So it was a lot easier to go out then and do the wetland. Then in 2007, Delta County Commissioners basically said, wow, that really helped, and that brought extra revenue to this county. And it brought a huge business to this county. So therefore, they upped their own. Escanaba already got what they wanted, so the county upped it to 10,000. Those are for services to the county lands itself or to bring economic development to this county on natural resources and environmental issues. And then in 2008, before we even took over the parks, the county upped it to 25,000, and that has been the case all the way through. So when you see a number thrown out like 75 and now 100,000, the parks have nothing to do with the $25,000 allocation from this county to the Conservation District. That's for direct services. In that time, just, I could look up a lot of things, but I didn't spend time. But the amount that we put in the airport, rolling equipment is there today because of the Conservation District, same issue. The brewery, can't remember their name out there, on that 40. Upper hand. The DEQ went into that 40 and claimed there was 14 acres of wetland. Conservation District went out, we came up with a 1/4 acre. We had the DEQ come up with the commissioners on site and made them delineate. When they got done delineating, we all said, okay, we'll give you 1.8 acres. Therefore, the back part was put into a mitigation site, and the rest of the 40 can be developed without any encumbrances of wetland or whatever else. The fencing issue out there. There was too much wildlife getting on the county land. There was a $14,000 that the county spent with I don't even remember who it was, an environmental wildlife people that came out. Their summary was 3 pages long, and it basically said, there's deer getting on the runway, there's geese and ducks landing out into the grass in the open area, therefore if an airplane hits them, the airplane could have problems. Well, we went out and determined that the whole western end was anywhere from 3 to 4 feet off the ground because they had put cement and poles in muck and it just frost heaved up 3.5 feet. Then came the part where they had to put the new fence in because of security and things like that. So we came up, we went out again, went all the way around, and that's why the fence has been moved in a 1/2 mile on the west side, which saved this county tons of money. Now, I do realize the county only pays 2%, but the feds pay the rest. But it's still 2% of something, and the feds are paying 95%, 98%. So that was done. The timber sale that we just helped you with a few years ago, when Ryan gave me a call and he said you were offered $6,000 to take that red pine out that was here because the jail was going to be built and I think FedEx was coming in. So basically we went in, we sold that for almost 5 times the amount. So you could build a search and rescue garage. And I can sit up here and go on and on and on. But that's what the $25,000 was for, and it was before we ever took over the parks, at the request of the county. And Dave Rivard used to keep figures, and it was usually our assistance with that 25 was anywhere from $150,000 to $350,000 if you would have went to the private sector to have it hired and have it done. So you see here, I got the next one I have. Prior to the district taking over the parks, the total revenue in the last year there was $130,474. The general fund contributed $57,000. And you guys have those records.
This is for the parks.
For the parks, just for the parks. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. The actual revenue, because I take the 130 minus what the county gave, right, the 57, gives you $73,474. Expenses at that time. And this is part of the reason why the county asked us to take over the parks. It wasn't the other way around for the first year, and we weren't even sure what we were doing that first year. So Gary Brantz's salary and benefits was $85,914. And what can't be found is he lived in that house. I don't know what that's worth. It was a house. So he got that also, and I'm guessing probably the utilities were paid, who knows? I don't know if you guys can find it. I don't have access to those records. I have asked. And the seasonal workers were 12,038. And if you look at what was basically the 73,000, if you look at, and that was part of the issue, because I remember sitting with Commissioner Schultz and Commissioner Elegert, the county was losing money in the parks, and anything wasn't being fixed up. So if you take just the 85,000 and you only brought in 73, that's a negative. So the county was subsidizing the parks to keep it going. And I'm not saying that's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but that's why they came to us. In that first year, the Conservation District took nothing. The original 4-year agreement that we started with, or the handshake, was please go, here's 50,000, please go in there, see if you can fix things up, see if you can turn this thing around, because we're gonna close those parks. That's what the commissioners wanted to do, because times were tough. So, and you can imagine, back around 2008, right? Just past that. So this was actually 2010, 11. So basically, what ended up happening is we looked at it, we came in the first year, and here's our first year. So the total revenue, we increased it, because again, we started taking care of the parks a little bit, mowing the grass so people didn't have to do their own spots. $150,039. The appropriation was 50. So if you take that 50 off that, I just rounded it up to 100, or down to $100,000 is what we brought in. We had one full-time employee and one part-time employee. The cost to the county was only $31,988. But remember, we didn't put those employees on till February, because we came in on October 1, it was basically done. So we hired Steve in February, and the same thing with, we used our manager to just supplement there. Park improvements that year, even though it was a 3/4 of a year, but a full year in the parks, was $41,300. And before, there was no money put back into these parks. And things were pretty bad. The second year we took over, 2012 fiscal year, $309,125 was the overall income that we received, but $50,000 was an appropriation. So we don't count that as what the Conservation District's making, right? That was given. The other thing that was given was $95,000. The reason I put that there, that was part of the $150,000, and that's the year, the next year, where we started paying the loan off. At 17,000 or whatever, I believe I got that in here somewhere. Pavilion. So that was paid over 10 years at a 3% interest, right back to the county. So basically, we assumed their loan, which was, no big deal. We said we'd try it, and it worked out. So, so the actual revenue, if you take the 50 and the 95 out, you're gonna get 164, 125. So first year, we went from 73,000 to 100,000, then we were up to 164,000. The other nice thing there is, because of those allocations, we also did park improvements at $158,000. So basically, that was the new pavilion that came in. We had one full-time employee. Now, here's the total year, 2,080 hours. One full-time employee and one part-time employee, that was our manager. We charged the county $58,816. Now, rather than sit up here and go through every single year, which I could do for the people, because these meetings are long enough, then I went right back to the heart of this whole thing. So if you see, now, the district years from fiscal year 13 through 22, which we just ended on September 30th. Total revenue brought into those parks by the district was $3,810,937. And there was probably but I either rounded up or down just to make it an even number. The appropriation over that time, $50,000 a year, 10 years isn't too hard to figure out. That's $500,000 or $500,000. And then here was the loan payment that was paid back. So it was $17,585 a year, coming to $175,850. The total loan from the county was, that we paid off for you, was $150,000. So that was the 3% interest on top over the 10 years that the county got back. Plus the amount of work that was put into that pavilion, because it wasn't a $150,000 pavilion, even back then. You go look at it, it was a $300,000 to $375,000 pavilion that we put in. So the district share of what Christine presented to you, of what the district took, I will use it that way, the district took for total administration, the district share, didn't go to employee, didn't go anywhere, was $241,614. And so the average over the 12 years was the county got charged $20,135, which isn't even 10% if you average it out over the thing. We deal in grants before we started this, totally. And grants could run anywhere from 10% usually that a conservation district will get to 20% just to run it. And that goes to the district. And sometimes it's higher. If you go to MSU, you're going to find out it's 40% to 60% on depending on what they do. I've studied a lot of this stuff to find out what other people get. Districts always seem to do it a little cheaper, and we're fine with that. One other comparison I want to do here is we're a unit of government just like you guys. So I'm sure you're well aware, if you've been on this board for a while, or even involved in government, that the fiscal year is October 1 through September 30th. If you're going to pay employees, and we got this checked out with our auditors, with MDA and everything before we even, this is probably the second or third year that we were still helping the county, that we needed to know what we could carry over to literally pay an employee. And that's what I got on this next one. So a CD Park employee, the highest CD Park employee, that is totally a park employee, basically we pay that individual now $70,000 a year. Okay? No benefits. So the cost is $70,000. Doesn't matter if it comes from the district, doesn't matter if it comes from the state or the county. An equivalent position with the county doing that would be $110,000. So that's a $35,000 savings every single year that can go back into those parks or whatever, not in the district pockets. So basically what we do is we carry over money, and then we never took anything administrative-wise, even though it might be in that column, because administrative-wise, you can put things into those columns, including administrative pay and all kinds of things like that. So basically, we roll things over, and then when that park closes, we know pretty much by November, we know exactly how much the park made, how much the park would lose, what payments were, things like that. And because we can't, and I brought this up, I don't know how many times over the years, and especially I guess in January or February, when I gave this report to the board, was that it's not ours, it's the county's. So basically on October 1, the only thing we can deal with is what we rolled over. That's all we have. And then, of course, the county can give us the allocation, which all through these years was only $50,000. And remember then, too, we had an obligation to pay back almost $18,000. So I'm just rounding it up down to $32,000 for easy math. So that's what we had to live with. Whatever we rolled over, which what we made, and the $32,000 that we needed to be able to move forward. We don't start taking in revenue till March. And that's with the seasonals, the first part. And then, of course, the campers start coming in at the end of March through the majority of this. Similar this year, the only difference is the county's receiving all the money now because of the online registration. So when COVID hit, we learned one thing. We had to come in front of this board because we couldn't open. All we had was seasonal revenue because everybody was shut down. So it's not the county's fault, anything like that. But we realized to pay that employee, we had to have $75,000 in case anything like that would happen. And again, you know, it wasn't for the Conservation District just to take whatever they wanted, although we could have. There was never anything in agreement, what we could take, what we wouldn't. But we think we're very well fiscally responsible to this county to average $20,135 a year and going to the district. So, let's see, lost my train of thought here. So basically, as you know, as we move forward, and we're going to obviously talk about the grant tonight, is a couple other things I want to address in this letter that you were given. It talks about the parks close in the winter. Really? Who's going to shut down a business for the winter? I mean, you could have winterized it and walked right out of there. But the bottom line is, when does anybody think, and that's why I've asked you to try to put out a manager that we can teach, because that manager is not going to quit. I'm hoping, I mean, it's up to you guys in the future how you run it. But that manager is not going to quit on November 1st and then just move over and, I don't know, you know, clean bathrooms or whatever else. I understand the maintenance person can help with things that Corey and them need, and which probably should. But when do you think the grants get written? When do you think you work with the seasonals? When do you do what I know this board has asked, to reestablish the advisory group? Where do they think this 5-year park plan is written and holding the open meetings? They're going to be doing that in the summer because nobody shows up anyway. You do it in the winter. So all those things need to be done, and that's when you do it. So that manager will be busy. It's a full-time job there. And the other reason you don't shut it down is if you left the heat on low, you have no idea the electrical system going into that park. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. When you drive in there, look off to your left and see that power. I have asked UPCO, I asked, what is it, Alsplat or whoever they hire to trim it, to keep them limbs off. They'll do it if the park pays for it. But what they really want to do is when the line when it goes out, then they'll run there and they'll fix it. But we've had it up to 3 days. So you get 0, 10 below, how quick do you think that office would freeze up? Very, very quickly. And if a tree comes down, punches a hole in a building, would you just leave it there for the whole winter? Or knocks out the electric system, so then you have to deal with that? So, you know, there's a lot of old trees at Pioneer. And it's going to be interesting in the future for the county to work with that. So you don't shut it down. And, you know, I got Steve Weary here in the back. The amount of work that he's done in the winter, working inside buildings, just building picnic tables and things like that too. So there's a lot of maintenance that is done in the winter months, because otherwise in the summer, you don't have any time to do it. And she makes it sound like we were going to get office space once we started the 15 agreement and the use of the district equipment, and that was just going to be it. And so we were going to charge nothing, we were going to do it for free, or whatever else, just paying the employees. That was never the agreement. That was never anything. And I used to come up here many times through this on behalf of my board and say, if anybody can do it cheaper, anybody, those of you who've been around almost every year, I'll lay the keys right here. You can start tomorrow morning. So I think we gave you a bang-up job. We fixed those parks. Anybody drives through them today, you can see what's going on. And you know, something like this that comes up that somebody, you know, FOIAs you, takes a line item, adds it up, take this line item, adds it up, take this line. I probably could have got up $4 million. Well, I guess I couldn't have got over 3, right? That's all that was brought in. But the point being here is that the district has busted their butt. There's a lot of hours. So what was kind of the office rent? We didn't need office space. We spent the first year at the USDA Service Center. Free rent. We have employees over there. We never moved the entire office from the federal building. We have employees over there. And that's where we'll be going back, because they want us back. And so the point comes to that we didn't need the office space, but it was the county board in the at the end of the second year who said, you guys need to have presence in that office. It needs to be manned. You're doing things over there. You know, it has to be heated. It has to be that. So we don't crank the heat 7 times as high. It basically sits, at night, turn it down to 60, turn it up to 70 during the day, depending, on the weekends. But every single weekend, where it gets down to about 5 or 10, somebody goes there. And it's usually me, who goes in there 3-4 times a day. If it gets below 0, I check it at least 6 times a day on the weekend to make sure the power isn't out, because that power is terrible there. Then you kick on the heaters, and I don't know how many years ago it was, and you wouldn't think it would ever happen there. I understand the drainage system now. The floor in the basement cracked, and you can remember what happened up on Sioux Hill. The flood just came straight up because it couldn't go anyplace else, and it flooded that basement. So that would have been beautiful too if there was no heat in it, nobody checking on it, to see that basement totally fill up, because that's where the furnace is. So it would have put out the pilots and everything else. But I'm hoping by me getting up here, this board understands that you have an entity out there, and you're responsible for it for the recreational users. And it's been fixed up, it's in great shape, and I hope you guys keep it that way. But obviously, on December 31st, if you renew the contract, we won't have any say in it, but, and I won't be here bugging you if you don't do it. I'll have more respect for that. But, I've just seen since January, so many people come after the fact, had no idea what was even going on, not only at the park system, other places, but by God, the district just did a terrible job. Man, I can't believe it, we could have did better, and we would have saved this money, and we would have did that. Yeah, there's a lot of we, but I've never saw anybody put any gloves on, except I brought it up once before, Nancy Kolich. Can't pronounce that good, that's probably why. And a few others that have come to help, but otherwise, we've done it on our own. So we definitely wanted to address this, and I guess I just did that. I don't know if there's any questions, I can answer them.
There's too much chatter in the audience, please. How much money in grants and either federal or state monies have you brought in over the years?
1.3, 1.4 million.
That's gone right into the county?
Yeah.
I mean, that's gone right into that,
Obviously. Well, you know where a big chunk of it is, right? Just go up to Cornell Township. It's a huge chunk. And John Melner should know this, that was a 4-year project. 4-year project, and I think John even went with us downstate when we gave the big presentation in front of the trust fund.
commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Mattson?
So, you will be vacating the office space as of the first of the year? At the
Well, it
park?
depends on what you guys do,
Well, yeah,
otherwise
but-
it'll be May 15th.
When,
I mean, really.
when we separate ways, then you're gonna go back to the federal building, you're not gonna use the park building, okay?
Yep.
That's all I have.
In reference to the time that you take, you are a department head, you do a fine job, and you'll have as much time as you need.
Well, I feel bad about it, because I know these meetings are long and things, but when you get something like this, and it casts a light, and the way it's written, it basically looks like we walked off at 1,378,614, and my board's just not gonna stand for that, so,
Thank you, sir, very much.
okay, thank you.
All right,
What happened? What did I hold up?
all right, very good. Unfinished business, we have
That's what she gave last.
well, first of all, is there any other department heads who wish to be recognized? Before I move on to old business. Any other department heads wish to be recognized? Seeing none, very well. Unfinished business, we have the Airport Advisory Board regarding the manager compensation package.
I would like to move that we support the direction that the Finance Committee come up in, state our airport manager for the extra work she's been doing.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Peterson to compensate our airport manager. I would need a second.
Support.
Support from Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion. All those in favor signify.
Hang on.
Well, hold on, chime up then. Go ahead. You got these delayed responses, it screws me up sometimes. Seriously, I don't like stepping on you, so go ahead.
No, I didn't think it was that delayed. My discussion is, I was wondering if we can rescind that a little bit to include the recommendation from the County Airport Board regarding equal consideration as we did for the filling in of 2 positions already approved by this board.
What did the finance committee come forward with?
I was there, I know.
I'm asking, I don't know.
Yeah, well, what was it?
The finance committee, sorry.
10 hours a week about.
The finance committee approved for the airport manager to receive $180 per week retrospectively to February 23rd until June 1st of 2023, or until the assistant airport manager is filled. That was just approval.
No, I was there, I remember that, but I think it goes against what the advisory board was asking for, equal consideration. We changed by not sending the double duty position of one person in the county. So we don't have consistency unless we do it what this board recommended. We also lose a little bit integrity by not following the procedure.
I can think it's apples to oranges.
No, it's not. No, it's
Well,
not.
I respectfully disagree.
Okay, well, but
I'm for
the
giving
thing
her
is.
money. Let's give
Well,
her
so
some
am I,
money.
but then it's a double standard that we're doing. We're looking at one position that's doing the same thing as another. It's not apples to apples because it ain't the same pay. But, and the reason I want to do this is because our integrity's on the line. We just did it 3-4 weeks ago. We changed it, and we don't have a policy, but we set a policy 3 weeks ago
We
on
set
it.
a possible precedent.
I don't know the ruling on it, but we're giving one employee favor over another is
We
what.
had one employee step up into danger, and she knew she put her career and job in harm's way based on the political nature of management. We have another employee who's management, and she's stepping down doing some of the duties that her assistant manager did, and I think $180 a week, or what is it, $720 a month, is actually, because we're gonna have other people stepping up. We
need a
established
policy.
precedents with that.
Until we get a policy, I want to follow the same standards that we started there.
Any other-
That's all I'm
Yes,
asking.
Understood.
I have a
Commissioner
comment. As chair of the finance committee, this was something that the airport manager and we discussed, and we came up with this. This is not our integrity on the line. This is going through the procedure that was necessary, and I believe all parties are addressed to this. It has nothing to do with the administrative level here. This is strictly this department and what was brought forth.
Well,
Commissioner Peterson?
Okay.
If I may, I've talked to Andrea a couple of times on this, and she thought that the action that we took, she's in the room, is she? Okay. In our discussions, she thought that the action that we took, she thought was appropriate, and that was her words, basically.
Commissioner?
It wasn't the action that was took that was appropriate, because I would support what the finance committee came up with. I disagree with changing it from one time to another. We're going back and forth on the policy, because the original one was not done through the finance committee, and I'm very puzzled by that, and so is the public.
Well, you're confusing two different things here, and we've gone through this numerous different times. I call the question.
Roll call, please, Commissioner. Clerk Pizaraki.
Melner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Weil.
Absolutely. This would pass. Thank you for your patience on that. Okay, next up would be the appointment of the recording secretary for the Planning Commission and the Construction and Zoning Board of Appeals. We have, I believe, 2 names set forth.
Correct. So during the planning commission meeting last night, it was approved to send both applicants to the Board of Commissioners to make an appointment for the recording secretary.
Commission, what is your pleasure?
I would make a motion to nominate Kelly Vangenhoven as to, she has been on the Escanaba EDA, if I'm not mistaken, doing the same thing as she would be doing on the planning commission.
So you have a motion by Commissioner Melner,
I'll second that motion.
support by View.
Second.
I don't support yet. Okay, second by View, I'm sorry, Steve. Second by Commissioner View. Okay, we have one candidate's name brought forward. Is there any additional? Or would all those in favor of,
Well, we second so we can discuss it.
all right, well, I
Well,
understand that, we might as well,
Well, no, but since it was brought to the floor so we can discuss, are we have any opportunities to vet both of these? If it was just approved last night, I don't have that information on that other person.
It's a recording secretary. I believe both people have been submitted by the planning commission, on a vote of the planning commission. So I think.
Oh, okay, so this-
Action is.
So they're just requesting, of the two applicants, I just need one appointed.
Okay, so no one was recommended from the planning commission, and
They
that's not.
sent two forward
They
and
sent
made
two.
us make the decision.
Okay.
And I made,
Oh, and you were there.
I made the motion to.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion
Kelly.
as far as hiring Kelly Vangenhoven. Raise your hands if you support that.
Well, why don't you just have a roll?
All right, roll call.
Melner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
No.
Peterson,
No.
and Moyle.
No. That'll put Holly Harris, thank you very much. Please remain quiet. That will, folks, I will recess this meeting. All right, recess the meeting so we can get order established?
It's your call.
Well, if I'm the only one who wants to do
They,
this, then I won't.
they've calmed down, let's keep moving.
All right. Then that would make Holly Harris, I need an official motion to hire.
I'll make the motion to hire Holly Harris.
Moved by
Appoint.
Peterson. Supported by Barron. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Present.
All right, very good. Please contact Ms. Harris. All right, third would be the contract. Rory, come on back up, please, with the Delta Conservation District.
Presented during last meeting was the contract with the Conservation District until December 31st, 2023. It was requested by Commissioner Melner to have this contract reviewed by prosecuting attorney Lauren Wickman, which she had reviewed the contract and sent each commissioner her opinion.
I think it is important to note that we did, prior to public asking us to have this looked into by a legal person, we were already on that track.
We were.
All right, I would like to get this wrapped up
Well,
tonight.
what I'd like to do is have the prosecutor come up and explain to the public what she found on that contract.
Can't we go in an executive session for this? Because it said that it was,
I would just as soon get this wrapped up, but I mean, it's up to you guys if you want it.
isn't it an attorney's opinion that we can talk a little more freely in executive session to ask questions outside of the realm?
It is the pleasure of this commission, sir. Whatever your position is, if you make a motion, I'm sure you'll get a second.
Well, I'll make a motion that, correct me, clerk,
You would move to go into executive session.
executive session, and what's the rule in it?
Our attorney's opinion,
Written opinion.
Okay, I thought I had to give the actual,
well, it is on the Soil Conservation District contract.
You don't have
Okay.
to give the MCL or.
okay, that's what I was worried about. Okay, an executive session to discuss the attorney's opinion.
We have a motion by Commissioner View.
I would support it.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Roll call.
Melner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes.
Back down.
Please give us a moment. You use the bathroom, whatever you need. Oops.
Okay, thanks, Laura. How was your life? What's that? I said, how was your life?
Thank you.
I feel better now.
You guys come to Fairground Farm number 10. That's before you. I got everybody, it's on the radio for 11. Come at 10. At the Fairground Farm number 10, 10 o'clock.
Hey, Randy, how are you? Good to see you. We just have a few more people using the bathroom. We'll session shortly. In session, I would need a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. All those in favor of coming back out of open session into a regular session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is important to note that we did not vote or make any decisions in that discussion. We went into closed session to discuss a legal written opinion with corporate counsel regarding the Conservation District's contract. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
In our discussion, Mr. Mattson's up there, and what we came up with, and we wanted, I'd like to have your opinion on this before we make the motion here, is that the old contract would be listed as Appendix A. We have the new contract, and we'll make the old contract as Appendix A to the contract, the original.
Again, you're putting me in a spot because it's actually my board who makes those decisions, but I would think labeling something that we already put attached would not be a big deal.
Okay,
We
well,
should
right.
have-
all
run
right,
it by you.
all right, well, then, the other would be the last paragraph of Appendix A to.
Scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt, last paragraph. Of the Appendix A.
Yeah, and my board and myself talked about that, so I know how they feel, is we only left it in there because, as you well know, I think it was January. We came in front of this board, we waited for the new commissioners to be on rather than do it in December. We explained that, why. So then, basically Commissioner Few and Commissioner Peterson could have a say in it versus do it in December and you have no say in anything. So we came to you in January because at the time, we literally watched the election from last year, and if the parks was going to be used as a political pond, then my board did not want anything to do with the parks anymore. You know, we went in on a handshake for 4 years, then we got a 8-year contract, and it was a mutual agreement to work together, and I believe we did. That's why we attend every board meeting, not because I love sitting here. And it just came down to, we did that with the board in the county, in the district, for the people, the recreational users of those parks.
So if I may, if we approve this, you're gonna stay through till December anyway, if we approve this. And so, the termination on the original contract on Appendix A would not be imposed anyway, it'd be the new termination on the new contract.
Well, yes, you know, so when this got changed, right? So we came back, I think it was February, I don't know, you know, I've done so many of these, that basically, we could see that by just leaving in January would have been a hardship to the county. And I basically mean the administration, whether that's this board and whoever was administrator, interim manager, and we've never done that. So basically, we came to agreement that we would basically, with this board and my board, that we would terminate it on May 15th, unless anything else could be done. So we kind of put together a few things, worked with Ashley on a few things, because she was the acting administrator, and we knew that certain things in here, including that last paragraph, which talks about June, right? That, true, we weren't going to come to you in June and say, we're only going to September 30th. We're committed. That's why when the new one, we didn't put it out for the district at all in the new one. The county's got it out. You can boot us on the 17th of May. The only thing we're asking for is 30 days to move our junk out, because we don't plan to leave. We're gonna try to help right through. So that paragraph was wrong, but something else I think this board needs to know, and I don't know if that was discussed or not, but where it says Delta CD will, right? That's a 10-year agreement. So obviously, in 7 months, and I think I had 8, and Ashley corrected me, it might even be 7.5, eh? She had it right to the day. Is that we're not going to be able to accomplish all this. What our goal is this summer is to run it like we have, except if you get a manager hired in to try to show that manager what we've done. Whether you continue to do that, the manager continues to do that, at least they're going to have that say, and also work with Corey and his department. I know Steve has already had them out at Fuller. I think they're coming to Pioneer, you know, to turn the water on. And we want to be able to show them in the fall how to shut it down, how to winterize everything, and then work with them too. So that was the idea. So we just wanted to continue then. We said, okay, if that's the case, why don't we just continue it? Because it dies on September 30th. So because of that date, we needed to let this county know we didn't want 75,000, we didn't want 25,000. We wanted nothing for those 3 months. It would have been really silly to just keep this and go through September 31st, right? Because then on October, the county would have had to kick over the 75 according to the contract. But although we'd have to request it, that's part of it, we probably wouldn't. But I don't even want it in there. So the point came to how much from October 1 through December 31st would be there. So there'll be no assistance for the district, there'll be nothing in there. But what there will be an exact, and I sat down with Ashley and the finance committee, and we came up with $21,000. And that will pay basically for Steve Weary's position and for those 3 months, and the rest of the seasonal that would be on from October probably to the 20th or the middle of October, whatever that is. So basically, that's what we came up with. And Ashley ran the figures, it looked good, so that got in here. But the scariest thing for the district, I'll be honest with you, we used to collect the revenue. So we knew no matter what, we could pay our employees. We have the employees, we have the liability of all the employees. Thank God we're not into things with the longevity, because we would really be in trouble. But for the county and the administration of the county, that's you guys and whoever you hire for a manager, or Ashley right now, it would have been really silly for us to put that online system on and put it into the district's name and everything with that. Because in December, what would we had to do? We would have had to change it, and it involves credit cards, obviously, and things like that. So that's why this other agreement was put together, basically for those 3 reasons. To carry over those 3 months and how much it would be so you can budget it. To make sure that since the county is going to get 90 to, I don't know, we'll find out when it's over, 90 to 95% of the revenue, how do we pay our employees that are in the park? So basically, that has to, monthly, we will send an invoice. And then Ashley will look at that, and we'll send all the financials with it. She'll look at it, and then whatever we're owed, we'll get paid. So that was in here. And then, again, no 75, no 25. But we wanted to line out something, too, that I keep hearing at these meetings from the public, when they don't really understand what is what. And that's the second bullet. I'm guessing you guys got this in front of you? If you look at the second bullet, it says the CD will operate under the current agreement and allocations from last fall for fiscal year 2023 from May 15th until September 30th, right? And then the other 3 months will kick in. And that's on another part. In the same manner that this has been done for the past 12 years, except for billing the county because of bullet number 1. 75,000 allocation for parks, operations, and management. We already received that. We applied for that in October, like we did when the fiscal year, so we have that money. It was given to us. The 25,000 allocation for natural resource environmental assistance, support to all county lands, operations, and activities, including but not limited to Delta County Airport, Service Center, Pinecrest Medical Care Facility. Now, there's another one where, we brought them 130,000, on behalf of this county when they were looking for a millage. The timber harvesting, administration on county lands, provide natural resource environmental assistance to Delta County private landowners to increase the economic funding within the county provided, and we're working on that right now with the, obviously with the sewer and water. There was appropriations meeting today. We're asking for $34 million in Wells Township for housing and those projects. But one of the things I wanted to make sure of, because there's 20,000 floating around, 15,000 floating around. Soil sedimentation and control, SESC enforcement, and associated activities and services. We've never asked for an allocation from this county, nor have we ever received it when the county came to us and said, would you do this? The only thing we got this board to do was increase the fees, because what you used to do, and the reason we got that, is building and zoning only did it if there was a building project there. And when they were issuing building permits, and it was in 500 foot of a water body, they slapped another $25 fee just to do it, and issued that permit. Those are the lease permits. So usually with Emily, we did add that up. It was averaging about $15,000 a year, but you got to do the job. We didn't do it from the office. You actually go to site. You have gas. You have people's time, and that's why we had pushed that up. But we received no allocation for that whatsoever. And it's gonna be interesting later if county can literally go out and do all those river banks and all the lakes and things and everything that we do and provide that service and see if they can break even with it. And my guess is you're gonna have to jack that up if that's what you're gonna do. But that'll be up to you guys. And then the county forest. I've heard it said here so many times, they get $25,000 for doing the county forest. Over 10 years, that's $250,000. The math is right, but the concept is wrong. We have never received an allocation for that county forest. When that county forest came in, I remember Commissioner Moyle, bless his heart, made the motion, we'll just give it to the parks, they can do it. And if you remember what I said, oh, well, that just gives us more work. But that's actually been enjoyable to a point. But, so, who did the work out there and what happened? Mostly, since it was given to the parks, I did have Steve out there helping me a few times, because he's quicker on the backhoe than I am. So we don't have to spend as much time, instead of me jacking the controls around, sitting there for an hour to dig a little hole. And so he's helped a lot on the roads and that. But everything else done out there, I've done it with no problems, trying to help out, people hunt out there, do things like that. And I've never charged a penny to the Conservation District. I've never asked for money from them, the hours I spent out there, never came here. And the Conservation District has donated the tractor and the mower and things like that we have. The only thing we've ever charged to the parks, so it's perfectly clear, is the fuel that's went in it. That's a diesel. So it's been a pretty good thing there. So we don't get $25,000, I've already explained that. But that's why it's in here. So this county board understands that when people ask like Commissioner View something, he can tell them. It's basically a big donation, and that's why we did it. So these things are in here. I know my board would like to get this solved one way or the other. May 15th is coming quick, and I guess you met with council, and I can almost assure you that my board would go along with Appendix A and striking the last paragraph, because that just basically takes out June, correct? I mean, is that the idea?
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm hoping you can just do that with an amendment tonight, and the thing gets done, and we move on, but it's totally up to you.
Need it quiet in the audience, please. Thank you.
But I know my board and myself, to just keep bringing this up and bringing this up at every blooming meeting, you guys either want us to finish out or you don't. I guess, it's really that simple to us now. And we're good with it either way.
Well, I'm thankful for the explanation.
Is that a motion, Bob, that you?
I'm just thankful for the explanation.
Go ahead.
But I'd like to make the motion that we would accept the contract with the old contract as being Appendix A and the termination of the last paragraph of Appendix A.
I would support that.
I have a motion and support, a second on that. Do we have additional discussion?
I just want to say it ain't foolproof, but I think it's good to finish off the great job the Conservation District did and whatever other issues that we have out there. I don't know what can come up under that, but I think we need to move forward on this and get this in the county's right now, so.
Roll call, clerk, please.
Yes. Milner. Commissioner Milner.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, under new business, the payment of our bills.
I move we pay, well, wait.
Well, we
gotta read
gotta
that.
find out what they are first.
Carried away. Yes. I know.
I have examined all claims presented and recommend payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the county treasurer to the claimants for the amounts allowed. It's $360,916.36 for the total bills, and the commissioner expenses of $548.75.
Commissioner?
I move that we pay our bills.
Moved by
I'll
Commissioner
support.
Barron, supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion? Oh, roll call, please.
Milner.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes. Pioneer Trail Park, a monument restoration. Thank you, sir.
Pioneer Trail Park, we have Ivy Netzel,
Welcome, and thank you for your service.
and I'm not gonna try to say the, what is it?
Anagominkwe? Oh, come on, it's easy.
Yeah. Yes, to present this
So-
project.
My name is Ivy Netzel, and I'm a member of the Anagominkwe chapter of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. And I've seen you at the previous meeting, so I'm going to just give you a shorter introduction than I did last time. I'm here tonight to request the board's permission for the Anagominkwe chapter to clean and renovate the Pioneer Park Monument commemorating an ancient Anishinaabeg Native American trail that stretched between St. Ignace and Green Bay. And are there handouts in their package? They have pictures? Okay, good. The Anagominkwe chapter is a local chapter of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, known as the DAR. The DAR is a nonpartisan 501c3 volunteer organization dedicated to historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Any woman 18 years or older who is lineally descendant from a patriot of the American Revolution is eligible to join this organization. So what the commissioners have, and I don't know if anybody else has the package, but there's a picture of the monument. Some of you maybe know what it looks like. It's a 7-foot-tall granite monument with a bronze plaque. It's about 4 feet wide. It's massive. And then the bronze plaque looks like this. It's fairly simple. It's almost the size, a little bit bigger, and it has 8 bullet holes in it. Yeah. And the plaque says, "This boulder marks the location of the Pioneer Trail from St. Ignace to Green Bay, used by the missionaries in 1660, with the DAR insignia." And it says, "Erected by the Lewis Cass chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, 1929. The Lewis Cass chapter is no longer in existence, I'm afraid to say. Okay. So, first of all, I'd just like to say that the monument in the park, we're not recommending that we take ownership at all. So that's off the table. Delta County maintains ownership. It's your monument, so you know what you say goes. Okay? So the preliminary or proposed activities, and these are just proposed because so much is left to be done work-wise as far as validating the historical information. But we're proposing that we clean the granite stone using NSDAR-approved procedures and products. These are the same procedures and products used to clean and restore tombstones well over 100 years old. So it's fairly mild, non-abrasive, intended to maintain the integrity of the stone. And in some cases, it's just water and a very soft toothbrush. Then we would like to replace the damaged plaque with a new bronze plaque that provides, well, we have 2 options here. We can just replace the plaque with the same words that are on the plaque, or we can use our ability to find out information on the internet, and we can provide more historically accurate information about the trail and how old it is and who used it. And if you want an idea of what we're thinking of, the last page in your handout, I'm thinking something along the lines of this. The plaque would say, "This boulder marks the location of an ancient Anishinaabeg Native American trail from St. Ignace to Green Bay, later known as the Sioux Green Bay Trail. It was used by explorers, fur traders, missionaries, soldiers, and settlers." I'm not citing 1660 because I cannot find any documentation to corroborate that. I don't know where that date came from. I've done due diligence. I've queried Delta Historical Society. I've talked to Native American Studies professors at NMU, and I've done an extensive online research project. And I'm still looking for information. If anyone knows where that number or where that date came from, I'm all ears. But this is kind of the thing that I'd like to do, with your permission. But it's completely up to you. Yes, sir.
What would be done with the original plaque?
What would you like done with the original plaque?
I'd like to have it for my basement.
But,
I think that if it was moved into the office, it would probably be a good thing.
Okay.
That's just my
Archive
thought.
it. Don't get rid of it.
Well, it could go to the Historical Society too,
That
but
would,
that's for
that'd
you
be
guys to
favorable also.
decide.
On loan from the county.
Sure.
Just in case.
It could go right over to the chamber with their
yeah, and that museum too, absolutely.
Right,
Okay,
right. Okay.
I would need a motion, gentlemen.
I will make the motion to accept their offer.
I'll support that.
We have a motion and we have a support. Additional discussion. Thank you for your service and your commitment.
Thank
It is
you.
refreshing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you. I'll be bringing a form for you all to sign.
Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you.
That's good. Okay, we have investment report. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. I'm Sherry Godfrey, Delta County Treasurer. I had included in your board packet an investment report as well as a copy of the investment policy, which states that I should give a quarterly report. So I'm just here to answer any questions you might have. Or if you'd like to change the format of the report in any way, I'm open to any suggestions for change.
A question on some of our investments. Do we have money sitting in like aggressively managed money market accounts where they yield a higher rate of interest as opposed to like a standard bank?
We have it everywhere we're allowed to have them. Most of the time, we spread them out over a time period, sort of to mitigate the up and down nature of some of those high-risk accounts. So not generally. We do keep some money in munis when it's in between longer-term investments.
Commissioners?
Are these cash investments only?
It starts as cash, and then we put it into the investments to get it more of an interest rate on it. We do have cash as well, but most of the investments listed on the investment summary are not easily liquefied or could be considered cash.
Do we have a lot in it?
Well, about 12 million,
A lot to me.
but if you.
Well, is that a lot, but is that a lot for the county?
Well, if you look at the breakdown, 101 is the general fund. That's got about 696,000. And that is what would be considered free money that would be available to be used for things. Then you've got some money in proprietary funds. That money may or may not be restricted. So I can't give you an exact breakdown, but mostly that money is earmarked for different things. That's your budget. So you can't freely spend it.
Do I need a motion to put this on file?
So moved.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you for your time. Zoning case number 1-23 PC.
At the planning commission last night, we approved this case number 1-23 PC. What this is there is a developer that is going to develop 100 acres of land up by Days River. If anybody knows where Russell's Riding Stable used to be, it's right across the road from that. They're gonna break it up into 28 different parcels. So there could be 28 houses in that area, which is really something that we're looking forward to. We had a lot of discussion on it, and we did approve it. Jack, do you have more to put on it?
Nope, basically, just want to make sure we know that what we're voting on was to rezone it from rural residential to R1. Rural residential to R1.
And if I'm-
That's what the vote was for.
And if I'm correct, that there's 3 different parcels there, 2 of them are already
Correct.
R1.
The two-
We're just making
yes.
the third one
Yeah,
R1.
The third one is rural residential now, which is where their ingress road would come in. So that one needs to be rezoned in order for them to use the lot size.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept this, case 123 PC.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion?
Just a comment. Why do they use condominium when they're 27 single unit? I'm just asking, because it's not clear to me why that terminology is being used unless it means something different than what I'm thinking.
There's less restrictions to a condominium community than a subdivision community. That was their reasoning.
We have a motion on the floor, and a second. All those in favor,
We need a roll call.
roll call on this, please. Sorry.
That's right. Melner?
Yes.
View?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
And Moyle?
Yes. Okay, zoning case number 223 PC.
Mr. Pasco has a 2-acre lot out on US 241. It is residential now. He is requesting it is rezoned to commercial 3. His intent is to put storage buildings on this property. The majority of the property in that area is already commercial 3. There's a thin strip of residential on both sides of the road. Other than that, it's already commercial. For reference, the property is located next to, which is now McNutt Trucking. It was Best Equipment. It's just located down the road from that. DeGrand Trucking is on the other side of the road. So that's his request to rezone it to commercial 3.
Commission passed this?
They did, yes.
Very good. I would need a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve case number 2-23 PC.
Motion by Commissioner Melner,
I'll support that.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion?
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
They changed this, is it from R1 to, is that, you're recommending from R1 to C3?
Our-
R2, excuse me. All right, I didn't catch this number. Thank you.
Roll call, clerk.
Well,
Sorry.
one more thing.
Sorry.
On the purpose of it, he's got mini storage or garage. The motion was that he could only make a mini storage out of it, not a garage.
Correct.
Correct. And to go on that a little bit, when we rezone something, we rezone it to the commercial 3. The commercial 3 is wide open. His intent is to put mini storage on there and not a garage, yes. But we're rezoning it to commercial 3.
Roll call, please.
Melner?
Yes.
View?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
And Moyle?
Yes. All right, thank you, sir. Trans service agreement renewal.
This train service agreement renewal is a constant renewal that we do. It's a maintenance agreement with Train, who provides us with the controls of the airport and courthouse.
I will make a motion that we accept that contract for 3 years.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Melner,
I'll support it.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion, gentlemen.
What type of work do they do? Just the controls and?
Yeah, so our big control panels and everything. They also do the same controls they did the bid on for the relocation of the utilities.
How much is this contract? Because I don't see it on here.
It's $7,000, and it's split between the airport board, 7,000 some change, and it's split between the airport and the county building.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We
And
have
it
a-
hasn't changed, so.
We have a
over the
motion, we
past few
have
years.
a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. The train connected mechanical proposal.
It was requested by our maintenance director to table this due to questions he has for train.
All right, very good. I would need a motion to table.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner Barron. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we will table that. Now, the bid opening for the RFP for legal service municipal attorney. I will start this by saying the work that Lauren Wickman has done for us lately has been outstanding.
Absolutely.
And we are doing this not to get rid of Lauren Wickman's office and the work that they've been doing, but simply to have another avenue should we need that. The RFP has been out, and I will open this right now. This is, if anybody wants to see it, it is submitted by Attorney Scott Graham, who's municipal attorney as well as very experienced. He, in my opinion, is giving us an outstanding rate of $200 an hour, which for somebody with that kind of pedigree is cheap. Do you have any questions, comments, Commission?
I would make a quick comment.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we are not doing this to, again, replace Ms. Wickman. This is just, if we run into a situation that's out of her purview, we have someone to go to. It does not cost the county a 1 penny until we actually use it.
No, there's no retainer.
There's no retainer, so if we don't use it, it doesn't cost us anything to do it. So I think it's a valuable option to have for us in the future, not for frivolous lawsuits, nothing like that. If we have an issue that's coming up, which they're coming up, we have somebody that has some experience in this field that can give us opinions.
Any other commissioners?
Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, I was just saying, I'm supportive of Commissioner Peterson and what he said. Thank you.
Did anybody read this before? Has this been
It's a
reviewed by
bid
you?
opening, we can't open it until here.
He just opened it now.
He just opened it.
Well, what page is the amount on that we're being charged? Would it matter if we spend a week to look at this? Each commissioner can look at it?
You
Just
can look at it if you want. I mean, I'm not, I have
Well-
no problem. We're only gonna need the guy if we need him. I mean, it's not like we're subject to any money just by just saying, he's the only one that responded, and I think we're lucky to have him, so I would.
How many did we ask? Just,
We put it out on the site, so
We
the
put it
RFP
out-
went
We put
out.
it out and they
they
send it
they
to
come
us.
back, okay.
We've only received the one.
Well, I don't know, I mean,
Commissioners?
Well, I would make the motion to retain Scott Graham as, for attorney services as needed.
I have motion by Commissioner Barron,
I will support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional conversation or discussion.
I would like to look at it before we vote on it, but I'm only one member.
All right, all those in,
If,
go ahead, John, sorry, please. Forgive me.
I still think we put ourselves at risk, that if we take him on and all of a sudden it costs the county taxpayers, because if he loses and we get sued, could cost $1 million of what we get sued, and MMRMA will not cover that.
I would counter that with the fact that he's not gonna take any case that MMRMA would want, and that legal services, and you were, I don't know if you were around when we hired we spent $100,000 one year on legal services, but what the public doesn't
Yeah.
know is that group of lawyers saved the county $300,000, and you don't have to take my word about it, you can vet it, and so you do the math, that means that saved the county, $200,000 of the good. We're not gonna be using Scott Graham nilly-willy. And we can't use Scott Graham unless we have a direct vote of the board. So I'm not going to call him and say, hey, we need you. We got to have a direct vote of the majority of the board. This is just a safety option. He's not going to get himself or the county into any kind of activity that would fly in the face of MMRMA. He's got way too much municipal experience in that. We are going to continue to work with Lauren Wickman, and I would make him not formal motion now, but we might look at paying her office more than the $6,000 a year we've been paying her. We must have used her 7 or 8 times in the last month or 2 months, and she's got court, and she's got still a couple opinions she's got to give us. So this is just an insurance package as far as I'm concerned. That's not going to cost us anything until we need it. We have a motion on the floor, additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose.
Very good, duly noted. All right, appointment to the Pathways Board. We have,
We do have one appointment. We had one applicant that has been forwarded to all the commissioners. His name is Steve Howes, and his background is also available there.
went to school with him, he's a good guy. I would need a motion to put Steve on the board.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner View,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion.
I've talked to him, I know him a little bit. He worked for the county for 25, 30 years as a probation officer and a lot of other law enforcement areas. And I think this is right up his alley, and it's a benefit for the county to support him in this position on this board. That's my opinion.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. View, thank you and congratulations, and thank you for your services. All right, general public comment. You have 3 minutes to address the board. General public comment.
Josiah Lawrence, Escanaba. Commissioners, I would like to comment on the unprofessional conduct of the last meeting in hopes that we will not see it present furthermore. To understand what made the conduct unprofessional, it is important that we remember the fourth rule of public comment. Rule 4 states that the comments of the speaker must relate to the business that is within the jurisdiction of the board. I understand that some people need to take a minute to get to their point, but there's also a point where you realize that the comment isn't being made for you, but the residents of Delta County and whoever is affecting them. Take, for instance, one of the comments from the last meeting, which was not aimed at any of you, but us. Even though she did not abide by Rule 4, you still permitted her to continue. This shows that you allow rules to be bent if it fuels an agenda that makes you look more competent than you actually are. I hope that you try and take rules more seriously and filter through public comments to see what is actually following said rules.
Thank you, sir. General public comment, please, and welcome. Just state your name and.
Hi, my name is Deb Abramson. I'm a registered voter in Wells Township. I attended the February 21st commission meeting. A comment was made by one of the commissioners that has seriously concerned me since. At the meeting, Commissioner View held up a packet of notes covered front and back with questions and concerns from his constituency. These were in regards to an issue that was to be discussed and then voted on. Commissioner View is asking for clarifications. Another commissioner forcefully stated he was not interested in these questions and concerns, and then proceeded to call for a vote. I would like to point out to each and every commissioner, and more importantly to the people of Delta County, you have been essentially hired by all of the taxpayers of this county, despite being voted in to your positions by various groups. The taxpayers of Delta County sign your paychecks. You have been hired by Delta County to see to the business of said community. You have been hired to make decisions that will benefit all of Delta County, not just the few. You have been hired by the taxpayers of this county to to represent us, all of us. You have been hired with the expectations that you would conduct business legally, above board, and transparently. You have been hired by the taxpayers of this county to represent all of us. Your behavior reflects on us. What you have said or done in the past or during your campaigns reflect on us. What you say and do here and outside of these walls, and this includes social media, tells the state, the country, and the world what Delta County stands for. You are not hired by the taxpayers of this county to start your reelection campaigns. You are not hired to stroke your egos. You are not hired by this, or to even get even with those who have wronged you, real or perceived. Were not hired by this county to pad your wallets on the backs of the taxpayers, many of those who struggle financially. If you are not able or willing to meet the expectations of all of your employers, the citizens of Delta County, you need to step down and find a job that you are better suited for. Do not ever forget, you serve at the pleasure of all of the taxpayers of Delta County. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I couldn't hear the last woman. Can everybody hear me okay?
Okay, I'm Teresa Ross, and you probably guessed why I'm here. At the last meeting, I presented Mr. Moyle's email claiming he shared my passion in serving the disabled, and that he would look into reinstating Zoom. 3 meetings later, and it is still not on the agenda. However, in a Facebook comment, he claimed he talked with the IT director, and it would cost $75,000 to install properly. I literally laughed out loud. This commission is offering the option of emailing the administrator any public comment we may have, and she will read them. Before I list all the shortcomings of this fix, let me read to you how I envision my opening statement by someone else. Here goes. I'm Teresa Ross, and you can probably guess why I'm here. At the last meeting, I presented Mr. Moyle's email claiming he shared my passion in serving the disabled, and he would look into reinstating Zoom. You get the picture. Needless to say, my statement would lack inflection. Inflection is essential to public speaking. As it is, 3 of you pretend to be busy writing during public comments and tend to only look up when your name is spoken. Inflection is important for engagement. Initially, when you voted to eliminate Zoom, you told us we could still make comments by contacting the ADA coordinator beforehand. This was false. At the last meeting, after public comment, the administrator indicated she forgot to mention that we could email our comments to her. Neither she nor the board detailed how this would work. Is there a time cutoff? Will she keep these confidential or share with others prior to the meeting? What if the public comment suggests unethical acts by board members or herself? Are these written emails archived? The last time I was at this podium, I listed many reasons why it might be difficult to attend these meetings: disability, childcare, transportation, time, and cost. You are aware of how large Delta County is. Some residents would have an hour commute one way. If you choose to present cost as a major factor, why can't you be transparent as to what those costs are? If it truly is a major undertaking, why not brainstorm other options? Why not put it out for bids? Again, $75,000 seems laughable, and I suspect that amount is a worst-case scenario with other options being ignored. And why does this board refuse to answer why the previous administrator performed the duties of access to Zoom, but the current administrator cannot? I will continue to fight for Zoom. Other counties have it, and this commission is engaging in a disservice to its constituents, not to mention limiting free speech. Thank you.
Thank you. General public. Mr. Larson, welcome. Oh, Mr. Fleury, I'm sorry, welcome.
Since I'm not allotted the time to get up here and tell you how great I am and polish my own buttons, I'll refrain from that, like other members have had the opportunity. So I'll cut right to the chase. First off, on the annexation. The people in the township of Cornell do not want this annexation. I can't go into and explain things because I don't have the time. Okay, let's get to the people of Escanaba. The people of Escanaba do not want this annexation. And Mr. Barron has said regarding the signatures, I'll bring you up to date on that. We had 60 people at our meeting that have signed documents to recall their signatures because they were in fact misrepresented to, they were lied to, and they're upset. And you can talk to them and see that they're upset because this is not something. So here we are. We have no benefit for Cornell Township. We don't have a benefit for Escanaba Township, and they don't want it. So why are we here? I have a letter that I'm able to read here. This is dated October the 12th, 2020, to Mr. Robert W. Barron, regarding annexation of territory from Escanaba Township to Cornell Township. You own property in Escanaba Township that you're supposed to develop for a solar energy facility. Although such a facility would increase the taxable value of your property, benefiting Escanaba Township and other local taxing units, Escanaba Township opposes the facility and will not grant you the needed zoning approvals to develop this facility. goes on to say, you have asked us to research whether it is possible to annex your property from Escanaba Township to Cornell Township, which you believe would be more likely to approve your planned solar facility. So what does that tell us? That tells us is that the people don't want it. There's a copy for the record if you want it.
Thank you, sir.
The people don't want it, of either township. So why, I'm asking the board, why are we forced to have this shoved down our throat? It's wrong. It needs to be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I got it right. Mr. Larson, welcome.
My name is Kurt Larson. I'm in Badenoch Township. I'm also a Plan Commission member. And I want to say to you, the Band of Three, you've done it again. You brought on an inexperienced recording secretary for the Plan Commission. There were two candidates, Ms. Harris and Ms. Van Genhoven. Ms. Harris has no credentials. I reached out to her twice by email without a response. Sandy Karen said she liked her because the way she answered her on the phone, but she never talked to the other candidate. The other candidate has experience well beyond what was really necessary for the recording secretary. She's also the recording secretary for the Escanaba Plan Commission. Why do you take it upon yourself to hire someone with no experience as opposed to someone who's got the talent and the experience to do what needs to be done there? The other point I want to make in regard to that, the Plan Commission was supposed to submit to the board a recommended candidate. Instead, they submitted because of, I won't call it confusion, but because of uncertainty, or you may call it confusion, but according to Ms. Young's letter that she wrote, the Plan Commission is to select the candidate and submit that to the board for approval. She was there last night at the meeting. I gave her the option of coming forward and speaking to that specific email that she wrote, but nothing ever happened. So you end up with the applications, and what you have is a totally inexperienced candidate. Secondly, as far as the item on the zoning case 1.23.PC, I put together, and I really studied this, I put together 20 questions and presented those to the petitioners to improve the property for the long term for all the homeowners. And I was literally run out of the Plan Commission by the Secretary of Planning and Zoning and the Administrator for Planning and Zoning. And so we're back to the same issue here. We've always done this way. Nobody wants to approve anything. You want to provide people with a subdivision that they want to live in, that they can enjoy, that they're proud to be in.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
General public comment, please. General public comment. Good evening.
Evening. I'm Christine Pepin, City of Escanaba. On the annexation, I too would like to speak a little bit on it. Commissioner Moyle, at one point you said that the board had nothing to do with it, that you guys weren't doing anything with it. Clearly, after Mr. Fleury spoke, one board member has been interested in this annexation for the last couple of years. And you talked about how property rights are being taken away. Commissioner View, I really appreciate the fact that you pointed out, what about the property rights of the neighboring properties that don't want to live next to a solar farm, that don't want it affecting the wildlife around their homes? What about their rights? If the residents don't like what the board is doing, what the township board is doing, they have the same option that we have with our Board of Commissioners. Replace them. Where? At the ballot box. You don't just get to run roughshod and decide to redo county lines because you don't like what your board is doing. If it were that simple, things would be a lot different around here right now. The solar farms, you talked about Billerud getting this massive tax break. Billerud employs hundreds of our residents. The solar farm is going to create temporary jobs for a short time. Billerud, you can't compare them. They're apples and oranges. That's a whole different ballgame. Without Billerud, this county would be in really sore state. With regard to board packets, I did not receive my board packet until like 4 o'clock today. And I heard, Ashley, I heard you tell one of the commissioners that they received their agenda on Friday. Do the board packets go out with the agenda? And if so, why don't we get the agendas on Friday? Why? Pardon? I'm signed up for the board packets and whatnot. Do I not get an agenda until the whole board packet comes out then?
Point of order. Yep, all right, please keep going.
Because I did not get my board packet until 4 o'clock today again, and it's massive. There's like 300 pages in there, and I'm trying to flip through them all and still get here on time for the meeting. If that's the time I get, when do you commissioners get them? I'm curious. If you get them the same way I do, and by the way, shouldn't a lot of the stuff that's in those packets, shouldn't that already be known by commissioners? Because isn't it a result of your committee meetings, your finance committee personnel, building and zoning, maybe that's where Rory Mattson should have brought his long spiel about how wonderful he's been doing for the county. He took up a half an hour of time at this meeting. He could have dealt with you folks at your building and zoning or at your finance committee meetings instead of going through the whole diatribe about this, that, and the other thing, and then spend his 3 minutes up here like the rest of us have to deal with. The Van Genhoven Harris thing smacks of personal bias. Nothing else to say about that. Thank you.
General public comment.
So civil. I love it. Hi. All right. Hi, my name is Christiana Reynolds. I live in Escanaba. I would just like to address the board. I really appreciate Mr. Moyle, you talking about the email campaign that, if you guys were not aware, there is a group right now, the Delta County Citizens for Ethical Leadership. Yes, we're very excited. Thank you guys. So we are not a tiny group. We are not a silent group. We are political activists of both, Republicans and Democrats. It's been a really, really great experience actually working with so many different kinds of people in the community. So I honestly this effort to recall the three of you has really brought together the community in a way I really haven't seen other things do. So I just want to give encouragement to your constituents who are very upset with you and who you continuously ignore. There are ways to remove you from your position of power, and we are actively pursuing that. I just hope anyone out there who's listening, will reach out and join us. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Anybody else, please? General public comment. Welcome, David.
Hey, good evening. I'll keep it short. I'm Dave Adamini, Wells Township. I just want to touch on some. I have no issue with the Conservation District, but something didn't sit well with me. Again, I've worked in the state and federal government. I've worked for the Parks Department. We'll forget about the personal stuff here. Stated that the budgets couldn't be identified by someone simply FOIAing the information and looking at that information. And I don't think that's the case. Like I said, I've worked for many governments. There are people, as was stated, well, they weren't there for these handshake agreements. But you know who isn't there for a handshake agreement that can do all that stuff? They're called accountants. So I'm not sure why there's an issue and there's a discrepancy, but that could easily be figured out. like I said, nothing major. That's all I got to say. Again, as always, if anybody feels intimidated or threatened, find me. I'm always available.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Public comment, general public comment.
Good evening. I'm Steve Benoit, Wells Township. I'm a little bit ignorant to all the parks work, so help me understand. When the parks became one and the conservation district started running it, I understand they took over soil and erosion at the same time. I'm wondering, will the soil and erosion and sediment permits be given back to the county to manage? Or will Rory Mattson continue to manage those after the parks contract is dissolved at the end of December? My other question is there a thorough accounting of those when those get done? Where does that money go? Does that money come back to the county, or does that go to the conservation district, and how is that allocated back or shown? My last question is, I would like to know who does the books for the parks. I think there's a conflict of interest there from what I'm understanding, so I'd like to see the names of the people from the point the parks were taken over until recent, and who did those books. Thank you.
Thank you. General public comment.
Chris Williams, Ford River Township. When Mr. Mattson came up and spoke, I need to clarify a couple of things that were said. First is I have a great appreciation for the work that the Conservation District has done with the parks. They have done a great service to our parks, absolutely. And I have never, ever said anything different than that. What's interesting, though, is this idea of handshakes. The Conservation District and this county has entered into 5 different, and there may even be 6, but I only have 5. I don't know where 2014 is. 5 legal contracts. Those are contracts. Those are not handshakes. They're contracts. And those contracts covered 2011 to 2015, assuming 2014 was under contract as well. What doesn't make sense to me is that we keep referring to them as handshakes. Somehow that changes something. It doesn't. They're contracts. And in those contracts, there was a clause that said that the Conservation District, in exchange for office space, would provide administrative services, director and staff support, and Conservation District equipment for the parks. The other thing that's important to point out is that in my document that I handed out to you after the last meeting that Mr. Mattson referred to today, I always have stated the $75,000 that I quoted, which is $900,000 over that course of the years, covers parks and other services. I never claimed that the $75,000 was just for parks. So let's be clear. What I would like to say is the Conservation District is contracted. They are a contractor to provide services. And under no circumstance should a contractor take more than they are allowed by contract. I do not believe my question was answered. It seems that $200,000, or roughly $200,000, has been accounted for in what Mr. Mattson presented. That leaves $278,000 that is not accounted for. So I still would like my question answered.
General public comment.
Commissioner, I have, is there somebody? Oh, wait. I have 2 letters, by the way.
Carol Corbier, Escanaba.
Commissioner Moyle addressed us and said respect and be quiet, and I would like to have respect from him also. I do not understand why the two other commissioners that make up three follow him so blindly. He comes up here at the end of the last meeting, he's writing and not paying attention.
No, he's
I
actually
would
writing.
also like the respect of not being on your cell phone, and that's another matter, that possibly the commissioners could, take another vote and have him replaced if he can't give us the attention that we are asked to give him. I do not understand why you follow him so blindly. I have spoken to all the commissioners on the previous board, one-on-one. We agreed not to disagree on many issues. I have spoke with Mr. Peterson before he was on this board, and we disagree. And Mr. Barron, totally respectful, really listened to me when and maybe he didn't agree on what the issue was. I cannot get that from Mr. Moyle. I cannot address him personally, so I will do this here. The contempt that you have for the constituents in this district is appalling. You get up here and you say nice things at the end of the meeting, thanking people for coming up here and giving this opinion or that opinion that maybe you did not agree with, even the young people not standing for the pledge, whatever. Then you get on social media, which was addressed by Mr. View, and said you should be held to a higher respect than most people. Getting after the meeting, you're taking snapshots of the new group that's being for recall. They have rules, no bashing of the other party, whatever you disagree with. Our people are also taking snapshots, or whatever they call them, on social media. When you get up and call people libtards, rhinos, and other derogatory remarks, the one that bothers me the most, Mr. Moyle, is if you are a special education teacher, please take the word tard out of your vocabulary and do not use it.
General public comment, please. Mr. Kaplan.
Joe Kaplan, Ford River Township. I have heard Rory Mattson say at 2 meetings, one with finance and one here tonight, I could have taken it all. What on earth does that mean? I could have taken it all. All the money. I could have taken it all, but I only took $500,000. In QuickBooks, when you put down administration, those contracts, what Chris said was 100% straight on. When he transfers administrative out of parks budgets into the conservation district budget, what is he using that money for? It started at $3,500 and it topped out at $75,000. How many employees have been added over that 12 years? Those contracts, someone should explain what happened to that administrative fee. Was it bonuses? What has Roy paid himself in bonuses? Aren't we curious? We just extended it to the end of the year. If that contract breaks, he gets a get-out-of-jail-free card. That district gets to keep all the money. I don't know what you talked about behind closed doors, but I would love to see that attorney opinion. I understand it's a civil matter. The things I'm raising might walk the line of criminal. But tell me, show me the money. What happened to that $500,000 that got transferred out as administration, that was supposed to be in exchange for a building that he says he didn't need, but he used for the last 12 years or 8 years or whatever it was? What happened to that money? Thank you very much.
Public comment, please.
Sandy Karen, Building and Zoning. I started the recording secretary when Nancy Peterson became ill about 5.5 years ago. At the time, I did not attend any planning commission or board of appeals meetings. I was not did not know the process of them, and I did not have experience in taking the minutes. So when I reached out on my own time to talk to Holly, 2 conversations we had, I felt she was on the same track as me. I still stand behind supporting her as the new recording secretary. I think I came a long way learning through those meetings and becoming a very good recording secretary. And she put across to me that she's very eager to learn, not only to be the recording secretary, to learn how those commissions work. As far as Mr. Larson stating that he was run out or something in the meeting, I stated my opinion as far as that development in Brampton with the years of experience in building and zoning, and I still stand by it. Whether he does or not, I had that opinion. The other thing I'd like to point out is I don't work for the planning commission, never have. I work for the county. I work for you and not them.
You work for us. You work for us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I don't work for the planning commission.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. General public comment, please. General public comment.
Bob Van Dam again, Baldwin Township. I promised last time I'll ever be up here. This has been a long 2-year process. I made a mistake the first time I was up here when I said my taxes were going to be capped or uncapped. That's not the right verbiage. This young lady over here was kind enough to point it out. But the long story short is that you're going to get more money, the road millage get more money, the schools get more money. The taxes will go up, just uncapped is a bad word. Somebody was up here earlier saying that none of these jobs that solar creates are going to be full-time. Our company has already hired 3 different local contractors. They're going to have 8 to 10, maybe even as 12, depending on how our solar project lays out, or how many acres it is, that are going to be hired from the local community. Our company has went into our school at Mid-Penn, donated $2,500 once, and they just gave another $3,000 to our robotics program. So I think that it's going to be a good long-term effect. And I guess I was a little sharp when I told the person he doesn't like to look at them. How many people here have been to a big solar project? I've been to 50 of them over the last 5 years. I was interested before I was ever even contacted by a solar company. They're probably as high as that flag over there. If you're sitting wherever you're sitting, you see the first row. That's all you see. Unless there's a hill behind you, you could have 1 million acres. And you're not going to see the rest of it until you get out of your place and drive around. You know that the big hang up for me always was the setback they want for solar. My neighbor built a building 30 feet from my property line. When I go out with my big sprayer now, they're 150-foot booms, I gotta suck it all the way in because that building's there. That's all I can see. But for some reason, solar's always been the redheaded stepchild. I should have to put a 1,000-foot setback. I gotta contact my neighbor. The same neighbor that wants me to keep doing farming the way I have been, have never offered to help pay the taxes, have never come over and helped me pick rocks. When I'm out in the middle of the summer and I'm 71, baling hay, nobody's ever come, geez, I really like, you've had this deer and that here for 50 years, maybe I'll come and help you. Nope. And you know when they want to buy a product that I sell, you know where they go? They go to Aldi's, they go to Elmer's, they go to Meijer's because they can get them cheaper. So this is just another thing we want to do with our land to keep it in our favor. That's it for me and solar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. General public comment, anybody? General public comment, please.
Commissioner, I have 2 letters that was presented to me. One is from Barbie Claremont of Escanaba Township. Dear Commissioners, I was sorry I was not able to be here tonight. However, I am grateful for the gesture of Ashley Young to accept the emails for public comment. Escanaba Township is under attack, and the map I provided along with this comment can show you the first area in which the township has been attacked. Forcefully removing half of the township with very few supporters with this annexation is unapproachable from all of you. This entire annex deal should be dropped immediately by the person or persons responsible for it. The important position that you are in was not meant for personal gain or agendas. This annexation forcibly moves 4 of its Escanaba Township board members into Cornell, and taking those members off Escanaba Township will leave a total of 5 empty board positions and no clerk. This will destroy the township, and most likely it would fall into your hands, the Delta County Commissioners. The township, once known to the residents, would no longer exist for those who choose to live in this area in the first place. Plus, displacing their elected officials without a recall seems unlawful. Support has gone down considerably from both townships. Once they realized that it wasn't what they were told upon signing, because they were deceived into signing for their own township's destruction, so many have requested to have their names removed. Falsifying the reason for the person's signatures is not very neighborly. More and more residents from the townships have opposed this annexation. It has been an eye-opener for the townships of what lengths a few will go to get their way. I believe you have a problem, possibly a bigger one than any of you who sit there here tonight will have imagined. Destroying a township is not what any of you were voted in to do. Please vote to dismiss this deceptive annexation on May 16th. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Please, that read into the record, thank you. You have another one?
Yes, I have one more. This one is from Susan Carlson of Wells Township. Since you have abolished my ability to make comment on agenda items and in general public comment remotely, I believe you are in violation of the Open Meetings Act by not making this available to people with disabilities. We should get an attorney general opinion on that. There are so many issues facing this county. I failed to see Commissioner Moyle's continued sanctuary county on the agenda. This has already been done. Get on with the business of importance. I have contacted Commissioner Peterson by email on questions I have had and never responds. Commissioner Barron has a blatant conflict of interest with regarding zoning and the annexation issue now before you. He should recuse himself from participating in any discussions or vote on this issue. Commissioner View and Malner have tried to give opportunities to individuals to participate in decision-making and assisting the board with their input. They are trying to give more transparency and cooperation to move this county forward. Please help them to do this. The last-minute changing of agenda items does not allow people to reply during the conduct of the meetings except by letter. Agenda items should not be added, nor board packets issued at the last minute. There should be a 1-week notification for these things. Please make our county a better place. It is clear by the withdrawal of applications for airport assistant because of the current unrest and political games is a clear statement that something needs to change. Andrea Newman deserves more pay, and her position is critical to this county. Our airport is extremely important, and it is a difficult job. Please help her. Short-term rentals need to be addressed. More and more are applying for this. What are the rules? The Planning Commission continues to table this for almost a year. If you are a resident, look to your right, left, and behind you, and decide if you want a short-term rental there. One I know of on Garth Point accommodates 16 people. The landlords can place restrictions on parties and noise levels, but common sense tells you this doesn't happen. People purchase beachfront property and pay premium taxes and deserve to receive considerations over those wanting to make money and claiming homestead exemptions even though they are running a hotel. This needs to be addressed. Stop tabling this issue. Thank you for your consideration of these issues.
All right. Last call, general public comment. Mr. Hyken?
I'll wait. I'll be happy to wait till it's quiet. Thank you. Commissioners, I find it admirable that you sit and take much of what's dished out upon you. It takes better men than me, because I wouldn't tolerate it. You know, I've heard comments made by people here about this is how democracy works. Although it seems as though most of the people that are watching these meetings see it from a slightly different perspective, and to them, this is how democracy works only if they agree. There are 3 people sitting here today that lost elections, and because they lost the elections, have now decided to become nothing but obstructive, trying to stop the progress of this county. Elections matter. When you lose an election, the graceful and proper thing to do is accept that, help the community, and move on. Not to try to obstruct and stop everything from happening. Do better. One of the people here also commented today about some text messages that were read to this group. I will tell you people flat out. They were complaining about a child and its mother constantly being attacked and harassed by people in this community. None, not one, of the 3 people who lost the elections, none, not one of their followers spoke up and said a word. Where's your shame?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
No, Dave, you can't come up again. Sorry.
I can only get one a trip.
Sorry.
Good advice from Mr. Trump, eh?
Thank you. Let it go. Thank you. Okay, next up, guys. Thank you. Mr. Peterson, Commissioner's concerns?
I guess the only thing that I have to say, I have a lot to say, but the only thing I'm going to say is on the thing with Escanaba and Cornell Township. It's not something that I take lightly, and I've already said this once. I will be spending a lot of time, I already have spent quite a bit of time looking into this. I spent some time talking to people down at the Michigan Association of Counties conference in Lansing. I have been talking to several other people. I'm not just gonna, this is not a rubber stamp either way for me. I just, as Mr. Kaplan said, I really don't think it's something that this board should handle. But again, I have to say that the law states that this is, as far as what we found, we're still looking into it, but as far as what we found, this does lay on our shoulders, and it's a huge responsibility. And I am, and I believe the whole board is going to try and take this as judicially and responsibly as possible. I see, and I've said this a couple times, for every question I have answered, it creates 2 more questions, 3 more questions. And I'm going to spend my time, do my due diligence before I do anything with this. Thank you.
Commissioner View.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone tomorrow, honor flight, leaving in the morning, coming back in the evening. I don't know the exact hours, but I'll be one of the drivers for them to bring them to the airport, and I'm honored to do that. But it'd be nice if anyone's up at that time to go out on the road and make some noise. I don't think they'll get us for violation of the ordinance anyways. The other thing is Zoom. It's not a requirement, but I think it's a nice thing for our county to do, just because of the interest of some of the citizens. That's just my opinion. It's a matter of interest for many people in the community. I don't have the details, how many people have watched it throughout the months, but some people are requiring it, and I said I'd bring it up again tonight, that we'd like to see it at least discussed at the board level again, and I have a hard time believing it would be that much. I think that's for a full-blown something else outside of Zoom. Seating capacity, that was brought up to me from the last meeting because we had people standing. I was put to shame by it because I didn't say nothing about it, and maybe rightfully so, but today I see it was handled really good. Everybody had a place to sit, so no problem with that. The agenda package, even though it was brought up to here, I had it on my list for a couple days. 1.5 to 2 hours before meeting for anyone doesn't do justice for it. And this would go corresponding with the explanation I was given. We don't want the public to think the commissioners are not informed. If they would ask a question and we haven't read the packet yet before they did, if it was given out earlier, if you can kind of follow that logic, it doesn't matter to me. if I haven't read the package, somebody called me up, they're gonna inform me what's in the package, and I'll be fine to say, hey, I plan on looking at it tonight before I fall asleep, or the next morning or something. That's not an issue. So I would like to see them packets, if they can possibly be put out later, or at least we discuss it at a board meeting to get something where they can have this information long before the meeting. New stuff in the packet, I just think a little bit about it. I don't like stuff coming in at the last minute, just like some of the people, especially to make a decision on it unless it's absolutely necessary. And you talked about being able to make a Nextcloud folder for some special things that we can look at. I think late items that are issued, like even today or on Sunday or Monday, we could have that special folder to know that these are, just before we come to the board meeting, we can open that up and kind of see what's in there to make sure that we can be somewhat informed, and stuff that we don't really aren't going to talk about, I guess. Oh, I shouldn't use the word aren't. Somebody's going to get mad at me. Also, May 14th, 8 o'clock, American Queen Voyages is having an opening ceremony in Escanaba. The chamber is requesting the county be part of that. So I would say people and people from the board. So I'm just throwing that out there. You want to put it on your calendar? I'll be working at that time, but I'll be out there at 8:30. Highland Internet ribbon cutting. We had good representation from the board at their ribbon cutting on April 27th. I think that was a Thursday, 1300 Ludington Street. Thank you, Commissioner Milner. It's always good to see commissioners involved in new ventures in the county. Not just new ones, but old ones that are being rehashed. Township fire signs. When I went down to I know I have a lot to say, but I'm saying it quick and I'm only giving half of it. Township fire signs, the townships are looking for organizing that. I went to the township meeting and they did a lot of, there was a speaker there from the Road Commission, Jody Norman, very informative. I did mention that we were gone at the MAC conference last week, and I did pick up some good information to give the townships, and I did get back to them after the meeting just the other day, and they're going to email me some stuff that I think might be helpful for the township leaders. Public comments, questions. I know a lot of people go up there and give their opinions. I think when they have a specific question, are they answered at any time? Is that customary not to answer people's questions? I don't know. I think when someone.
Policy for the board is during general public comment. that
No,
we
I'm
not-
talking about by the next board meeting, 2 weeks to say, somebody says, is this happening, or is this happening, or how much is this?
Up to the commissioner.
Yeah, but they're directing the commission. What's the process so that they receive an answer to an actual question that would be, you follow what I'm
Yeah, I know
saying?
what you're saying.
Do we have a policy that these people get answered? Because they keep coming back with the same question, and I'm wondering, why ain't we answering them? At least I would like to answer them, but I don't have the answers sometimes. So can we get something done, a policy written like that we would answer specific questions, not opinions?
I'm not against, let's.
Okay, well,
If
let's-
you want to draft something up, that'd be good.
Well, is that my job?
Oh, you're asking, if you have a passion for it, put it forward.
Well, I do, but is it my job, or do we have a department that does that?
A questions department?
No. All right, I'll come up with something. The other thing, I think the best part of the meeting is the interaction with the people. I don't care if it's constructive criticism, burying the hatchet and stuff and listening to this stuff is okay with me. It makes me a better commissioner. And if I'm out of line, and I've been told I'm out of line a lot, I welcome it. because it makes that line stronger for me to walk better all the way around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Melner?
Well, Commissioner, Commissioner View took some of the things that I was gonna say, but.
See 'em anyways.
I did go to that Highline meeting, and I also went to Business After Hours, which I talked to no less than 10 people that come up to me and wanted to know information, so that, it was good stuff. It always is when you can interact and be one-on-one with people. The MAC meeting was, it was a good meeting, but there was not as many breakout sessions as normal. They kind of cut it back a little bit, which I was kind of disappointed with, but when we get a survey, I will let that be known that they should have more breakout sessions. Breakout sessions that they did have, they were excellent, the ones that we went to. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you,
What was
sir.
your award?
Oh,
You get an award?
Oh, yeah, yeah. He did get an award. He is an official certified commissioner, whatever, I don't know, but it was pretty nice. Not many people get it. Out of the hundreds that were there,
It was 30.
yeah, it was very little, and it's a lot of,
What's the name of it? I mean, congratulations.
I mean, this is in front of all 83 counties. He got to go up on stage or get a nice little certificate. It's certified commissioner, meaning he took enough courses to understand what's it say there?
That's all right, now I got you on the spot.
It was.
Well, congratulations.
It was a nice award.
Congratulations.
Not many.
A lot of work to get it though, because I was checking in to see how I can get it. And I'd have to be elected probably a couple times.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you for reminding us.
Commissioner Barron?
Yes, I come across different quotes, and it's amazing how they often fit in with the meetings that we have. I was reading an author, C.S. Lewis, may not be familiar who he is, but if you've read the Chronicles of Narnia or Screwtape Letters, he was quite a prolific writer in the mid-last century. And I came across this quote, so I jotted it down. It's, quote, "If you look for truth, you may find comfort in the end. If you look for comfort, you will not get either comfort or truth only, soft soap and wishful thinking to begin, and in the end, despair."
Nancy? Ashley?
Yeah, I would like to say, during the planning commission meeting I did attend, I just want to clarify, I wasn't invited up to talk. Yes, my email was mentioned, but it wasn't for me to talk about. It's not my commission. So I do have to be invited. Another topic was, I see the Zoom that's been brought up. If the commissioners would like to discuss that again, Brandon will be out for our next commission meeting, so I would like to not have it on that agenda so he can speak on it.
Thank you.
But that's all.
Brandon is who I got my information from. I have nothing against Zoom. He told me $105,000, and then he said we could probably get it done for 75 to do it properly. That's not a number that I just pulled out of the air. And I did keep my word by bringing it to Brandon. He's our IT guy, and I look to him for the leadership. If this commission chooses to do it, he wants to do it right, and it's gonna cost us 75 grand to do it properly. All right, the way it was being done before was not proper. We were having issues with that too, but we didn't have as many citizens on the commission as far as taking umbrage with some of the stuff we were doing, so there was not as many issues. If you sincerely want to bring this up again, I have no problem with it. But I take my cues from the IT guy. As far as some of the terms that I use, I think my greatest character strength is when I step on myself, I will admit it. And I told somebody that I would take that term out of my lexicon, but I'm not a pacifist. If you pop me, I'm going to pop you back, okay? That's a character flaw I'm working on. I'm trying to be more reflective and less reactive. But as far as how I treat my constituents, The offer for coffee is still up. Last time I offered that, somebody went on a diatribe saying I wouldn't want to drink coffee with him. I'm sorry, I've been doing this for 13 years. If I was that, Ms. Corbier, if I was that level of a sphincter that you make me out to be, I wouldn't be here right now. And so I will offer to have coffee with you, and I will bring sincerity to the table. With that, I thank you guys for coming. Even if I don't like hearing what you have to say, you've got the right to say it, and I respect the hell out of that. Okay, we have Committee of the Whole tomorrow. It starts at 8:30, the multipurpose room. Special Commissioners meeting on the 9th, which is 1 week from tonight, 5:15. Could we please have it a little bit, just for a moment? Commissioners meeting on the 16th at 5:15, and then the regular Board of Commissioner meeting 6/6 at 5 o'clock, and the regular Board of Commissioners meeting at 6:20 at 5:15. No 30-day appointments. I would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I don't know on that. We are adjourned.
I don't know if Nancy's supposed to take it or not.
Give it to